Sergeant at Arms, I call the meeting to order. Sergeant at Arms, please invite the first witness, Mr. Pritam Singh, to the witness table. Thank you. Good morning, Pritam. Please take a seat. For the record, please state your name, occupation, and positions you hold. You can remove your mask.
Yes. Good morning.
So for the record, please state your name, occupation, and the positions you hold.
My name is Pritam Singh. I'm the Secretary General of the Workers' Party. I'm also leader of the opposition.
Okay. The evidence you'll be giving today before the committee will be taken on oath. If you so desire, you can also take an affirmation. So, Clerk, please administer the oath.
I will take an affirmation.
Please hold the affirmation form in your left hand and raise your right hand. Please say the pronoun I, followed by your name in full, and recite the affirmation.
I, Pritam Singh, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the evidence which I shall give before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Please be seated. The Committee of Privileges is looking into the complaint made by the Leader of the House, Ms. Indrani Raja, against former member of Sengkang GRC, Ms. Raeesah Khan, for breach of privilege. So thank you once again for attending today's hearing.
You're
to
welcome.
give evidence before the committee and to answer the questions which members of the committee would like to put to you. You have taken a solemn obligation to answer our questions truthfully. If you refuse to answer our questions directly or attempt to mislead the committee, such behaviour will be an offence and in contempt of this committee. I will now call on Minister Edwin Tong to proceed with his questions. Edwin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Singh.
Good morning, Mr. Tong.
Thank you very much for being here. You've heard Mr. Chairman explain the ambit of the inquiry we are conducting, and we will be taking evidence, including from you. And what we'll be doing is I'll be asking some questions, and where appropriate, I'll also ask you to elaborate on them. And to the extent that you're aware, if you think there's anyone else who's able to shed light on the issues that I raised with you, please also let us know.
I will.
From time to time, there might also be documents which we might ask you to produce, depending on the nature of the discussion that we have and what circumstantial or corroborative evidence there might be. So I'll be grateful if you could please keep a note of the various requests as they go along, and feel free to clarify with me if you're not sure.
I will do so.
Okay. Mr. Singh, the issue that we're looking into today, this COP, pertains to a lie being told in Parliament. That's a very serious matter, correct?
That is correct.
It's serious in this case as well, because the lie also impacts the work of the police, correct?
I would disagree with that.
The nature of this lie is that the police had reacted badly to a report made by a sexual assault victim, correct?
Mr. Tong, I would disagree. I believe I will explain when you give me the opportunity to, but I would disagree that the police...
So let me put it to you this way. The false anecdote is the substance of the lie, right?
That is correct.
And the false anecdote relates to an occasion when Member of Parliament, Ms. Khan, says that she had accompanied a sexual assault victim to the police station, correct?
That is correct.
And she also described the reaction or the response of the police in the context of that anecdote, correct?
That is correct. And she also clarified that she could not substantiate
Hang on.
that anecdote
Hang
in
on,
Parliament
Mr. Singh.
on the day she made the speech.
Don't jump ahead of me or try to anticipate. Let's take it step by step. On the anecdote itself, on the 3rd of August when it was said in Parliament, without or before the clarification, okay? That's where I'm at. That anecdote, which is false, and I think we agreed on that, would have an adverse impact on the work of the police, right?
I would say it would not.
It would not.
Yes.
So it's okay to have a lie in Parliament where the lie relates to the reaction of the police, bad reaction, I might add, to a complaint by a sexual assault victim.
The police are not some broken back organization. They are fully aware that in the course of investigations, I solemnly and sincerely believe, if you speak to any senior police officer worth his salt, he will tell you that he or she will tell you that in the course of investigations, there can be a number of situations where certain questions are put to a witness which are uncomfortable for that person. I will not interrupt you. Please proceed.
Yes, please don't. Listen to the question. I'm talking about the anecdote, and I'm not talking about general police investigations. We all know how well our police force is regarded. I'm talking about the anecdote, and I think you know that I'm focused on the anecdote. So please focus on the anecdote. That anecdote is false. It paints a picture of the police. That anecdote, if true, if left uncorrected, would have an adverse impact on the work of the police, correct?
In the context in which it was said in Parliament, my answer remains no. That was the earlier answer I gave you. And I say no because Ms. Khan could not substantiate that allegation. I do not believe the police is a broken back organization.
No, Mr. Singh, please.
That's my answer, sir.
Okay. You apologize to the police, correct?
I apologize at my press conference because I don't think anyone deserves that.
Yes.
And I work with the police.
You apologize because you felt that wrong was done to the police, correct?
No, I think time was wasted.
Exactly. That's wrong done to the police. Time was wasted chasing their tails for 3 months.
But we're talking about
Correct,
something different
Mr. Singh?
here. I disagree because I am not sure what work the police actually did. I remember on the 3rd of August when Mr. Desmond Tan stood up, MOS Desmond Tan stood up, he said the police have no case of this nature. So what,
Mr. Singh, don't
what
you
work
think...
was actually done? I am not aware. I'm not saying no work was done. Obviously, work must have been done,
Come on,
done
Mr.
to check.
Come on, Mr. Singh. You're a lawyer. I think you're a senior member of the opposition, senior member of parliament. You know that if you make an allegation in parliament, especially one in the nature of what was done in the false anecdote, the police will have to check. And
Yes,
for
I
them
don't
to
disagree.
come and say that there's not one case, it means that they've gone through all the cases.
I did not believe I heard that from the police. I did not hear anywhere that they've gone through all the cases.
You apologize on the 2nd of December at your press conference, correct?
Yes, I apologize because a reporter put the question to me,
Okay.
and I think the police deserve it. Anyone deserves it.
You apologize before the reporter put a question to you, correct?
I
Mr.
believe
Singh?
it was after the reporter put the question about the police and the work that they had to do.
Okay.
But I have to check this.
We'll get there.
Please do so.
But you also cleared Ms. Khan's statement on the 1st of November, correct?
I knew what she was going to say.
Mr. Singh,
I will answer
you
the question.
cleared it, correct?
I saw the statement and I said, yes, this is what you have to say.
So you approved it.
I wouldn't say I approved it. Those were her words.
You were happy with it.
I think I was satisfied.
Yeah, so you cleared it.
I was satisfied.
Come on, don't play with words, okay?
I'm saying I was satisfied.
Okay.
You're not going to put words in my mouth.
I'm
gonna
not.
say
I
it as it
can't.
is.
I can't, because the truth has to come from you.
Absolutely.
And the version that you cleared includes an apology to the police, correct?
I will have to look at that. Can I refer to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Please help Mr. Singh with the hands up, 1st November.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you have it, Mr. Singh?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a line where Ms. Khan says, I wish to correct the record by retracting the anecdote that I shared on the 3rd of August, and I wish to apologize to the Singapore Police Force. Yes, indeed.
So you
I saw
cleared
this. I saw this before Ms. Khan made this statement. That's right.
And you were happy with this, right?
This was the least she could do.
No, you cleared this, right?
I saw it, yes. I
And you
cleared it.
felt it was appropriate for her to deliver this statement, correct?
Absolutely.
Including an apology to the police, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you. Wasn't so difficult.
No, it was, I don't think I was, I didn't think I said I didn't want to, an apology to be made to the police.
I think what you have said is on the record.
It is on the record. You don't need to think that it's on the record.
So I think we can move on. If lying in Parliament is a grave matter, which you accepted, you would accept that allowing a lie to remain on record, if you know it's a lie, it's also a grave problem, correct?
That is correct.
Possibly a criminal offense as well, correct?
I disagree because
You
it
disagree.
is for Parliament to address its matters. If something has been said in Parliament, the Parliament Act, Section 5, I believe, covers freedom of speech. Whatever a member of Parliament says in Parliament is for Parliament to take action. It cannot be questioned in a committee of inquiry, commission of inquiry, or any other place outside of Parliament. So I disagree with that point.
Okay. You appear to know your positions very well. So,
Well, I am leader of the opposition.
yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I will suggest to you that if a member of Parliament is aware of a lie being said in Parliament and it is not corrected, that's also a very serious problem, correct?
That is correct.
And it is the obligation and duty of a member of Parliament, whether it is that member of Parliament who spoke the lie in the first place or not. If he's aware of a falsehood or a deception in Parliament, there's an obligation to correct it, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
If you're a member of Parliament and you're aware that there is a deception on Parliament, a falsehood has been said in Parliament, you have an obligation to correct it, correct?
That is correct.
Regardless of whether the lie was said by you or that member of Parliament in the first place or not, correct?
Your first question was with regard to a member of parliament who has told a lie. It is an obligation on that member of parliament to correct the lie. I agree
My
with
second
that.
question is, if you are a member of parliament and you are aware that there is a lie or a deception on parliament, regardless of whether the lie came from that member of parliament or not, you also have an obligation to correct it, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, in this case, Ms. Khan had given a false anecdote in Parliament on the 3rd of August, right?
That is correct.
And by around the 7th or 8th of August, you were aware of it, correct?
That is correct. I was aware on the 7th of August when she gave me a call. She wanted to keep to her position of not telling me the truth. And then I put it to her. I said, I'm only going to ask you once, did this happen or not? And then she finally confessed. She said, no, it did not happen. And then it was left at that. We met on the 8th with the party leadership in my home. And there I got to know more details about why that lie was told and the circumstances the member was laboring under before she told the lie.
Right. So the answer to my question is yes.
That is correct.
You were aware by
Yes,
the 7th
absolutely.
or 8th of August,
Absolutely.
correct? And would you say you were fully aware by that time of the circumstances and details of the lie as you have put it?
To the extent
To
that
use your
Ms.
words.
Khan, to the extent that Ms. Khan said so, what she told me, the answer would be yes.
And you would have, if you are not sure, clarified, correct?
Not sure about what.
If there were any details about the lie, any matters concerning the anecdote, the circumstances which gave rise to the lie, if you're not sure about any of these, you would have clarified with her, right?
Not necessarily. It would depend on the circumstances of what Ms. Khan was laboring under.
Okay.
And the circumstances, I would say, were highly unique.
So when she left your home on the 8th of August, did you have any doubts as to the circumstances which gave rise to the lie or why she told the lie?
When she left my house, I told her that she had to speak to her parents.
No, please, Mr. Singh,
Yes.
answer the question.
Yeah,
Did
I'm
you have
answering
any
the question.
doubts?
Any doubts about?
You see, if you listen to my question, you will be able to answer it. And then you
You
can
can ask the
clarify if
question
you like.
again.
Yes, I will. I will just repeat what I said. When she left your home on the 8th of August, did you have any doubts as to the circumstances which gave rise to the lie or why she told the lie?
To the extent that what she had said, I took it on board. To the extent of what she told me, I had no doubt that that was the situation as she described.
Okay. Did you have any doubt that it was a lie in Parliament?
No, I had no doubt. It was a lie.
All right, thank you. Now, a week ago, you gave a press conference, correct? On the 2nd
Are
of
we
December.
done with the circumstances leading up from the 3rd to the 7th and what happened on the 8th?
Not necessarily.
So we're going to jump back to it.
We may come back to it.
No, will we come back to it?
We may
Because
come
there's important details I wish to share, important evidence I wish to give.
back. Yeah, I'll make a note of it and I'll come
Thank
back
you.
to it. So you said 3rd to 7th, right?
3rd to 7th and the 8th.
Okay. I'm happy to let you elaborate, but we will have to be the judge of what's relevant.
Absolutely.
I hope you understand that.
Absolutely.
So last week, 2nd of December, you gave a press conference, correct?
Right?
Okay. I have taken the liberty of transcribing that press conference,
Yes.
and I'd like to ask you some questions.
Please do.
So I'll hand up a copy of the transcribed press conference to you. If I may ask the clerk to please assist me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Singh, what you have before you is a transcription of the Workers' Party press conference on the 2nd of December. It happened last Thursday at around 12 noon. Can you quickly cast your eye over it? And let me also tell you that if you like, I can play the video of this press conference of any portion, if you like.
Sure, no problem. But I would take it that this is an accurate transcription.
All right. But if you find that there's anything inaccurate or not transcribed properly, please do draw it to
Sure,
my
I will do
attention.
so.
Okay. So you'll see that this press conference, your bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the page number.
Yes, I do.
From page 1 all the way until the halfway down page 2 was your prepared text, right?
That is correct.
And I take it this would have been something you prepared carefully.
I prepared it, yes.
Carefully.
To the extent that it was accurate, yes.
You prepared it carefully, right?
I prepared it. I prepared it carefully. I mean, I think we prepare everything carefully when we go to a press conference. It
Yes,
should be a
okay,
given.
thank you. So just focus on my question and
Yes, go ahead.
answer it, okay? Now, you would have been very careful to prepare this because you appreciated the gravity of the situation and gravity of the matters you were going to be disclosing to the press, correct?
Yes.
Amongst other things, this is the first time the public gets to know that actually the Workers' Party was privy to the lie from a few days after it was said in Parliament, correct?
That is correct.
And that would be a very serious matter, correct?
It would be serious because there have already been questions in the online space about what the Workers' Party had known previously. And
Yes.
that was my focus, to at least get that addressed because it was out there.
Yes. In fact, I would say to you that this is something that ought to be addressed regardless of what's on the online media.
No, I disagree. I
Disagree?
disagree vehemently because if somebody tells you that, if your MP comes up to you and tells you that she's been, which is what Ms. Khan told us on the 8th, I think your calculations would not be so straightforward. That's my view.
I figured you would say that,
Of course, it's quite obvious, I would say.
but we'll get into those details. okay?
Absolutely, I'm sure we will.
But let's come back to this press statement. You would be very careful to explain the circumstances in which you became aware and the steps to be taken by Ms. Khan as a result of you being aware, correct?
Repeat the question.
You would be very careful to explain to the public the circumstances in which you became aware and the steps that you took to ensure that this lie is clarified, correct?
Yes,
And so the steps that you've described in here would be very carefully worded, correct?
to the extent for the purposes of a press conference, the key facts, the key details, yes.
Whether it's a press conference, a statement in Parliament, a statement before the Committee of Privileges, the accuracy of what you say is very important, right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Now, look at the press statement. I think you remember it very well. So I will just quickly ask you to cast your eye over the first half of it. You set out some background circumstances. 3 paragraphs from the bottom of page 1, you said, initially Raeesah stuck to the untruth in her communication with me. That was what you had briefly alluded to earlier, correct?
What do you mean I briefly alluded to earlier?
When you said that you initially spoke with her and she maintained the lie, this paragraph refers to that, correct?
Is this in the press conference? Are you referring to the press conference?
I just gave you a document that transcribes a press conference. So I think the answer is
that
yes.
particular comment that you made.
No, you made it here. Just
Yes,
some minutes
I
ago.
said initially Raeesah stuck to untruth in her communication with me. It's on the record.
It's on the record. And
Yeah.
you also said this earlier when you described to me that when you initially called her,
By earlier, you're
pressed her-
referring to this committee.
this is not a press conference.
I said this committee. So are you referring to this committee? What
You-
I said
you
earlier?
gave evidence here, yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
If the question was clear, I would answer it.
I think there's no need for this kind of retort, Mr.
No,
Singh.
there's no retort. It's just I'm just putting my point of view across.
I think let's put across some rules, okay? First, I think we don't speak over each other. Don't interrupt me, okay?
I hope it works both ways, sir.
Second, I'll give you an opportunity, but I will interrupt you if it's not relevant. I hope you understand, and I made that clear to you earlier.
And you would accept that I have to put evidence forward as well, and you also
You will
told
have
me
an
that you would allow
opportunity.
me to do so.
Mr. Chairman will give you an opportunity, but
Okay.
whilst I'm doing a questioning, you'll be guided by what I regard as relevant, okay?
Yes, I hope you accept that sometimes I may ask you to repeat your question.
Of course, that's fine.
Sure.
And clarify and rephrase, please do. Also, please answer the question directly. And then if you wish to elaborate, please say so. If I think it is germane to the issue, I will allow you to. If not, I will make a note of it, or Mr. Chairman will make a note of it, and you come back to it.
Okay.
Now, let me show you page 3. You were asked a question by CNA, and your answer below at the bottom of page 3 is, certainly an MP cannot be expected to leave an untruth on the record. She would have had to clarify it at some point. That means that the moment an untruth is on the record, it has to be clarified. There's no two ways about it, right?
At some point doesn't necessarily mean that, right? Because you just said immediately in your question. But here I'm saying on record that she would have to clarify it at some point. This is what
I know.
Yes.
So these are your words.
That's right.
We'll explore what at some point means.
Sure.
Okay. Actually, why don't you explain to us at some point? What does it mean?
Well, you'd have to go back, which is why I initially wanted to put in evidence as to what happened from the 3rd to the 7th.
Okay.
And thereafter on the 8th of August. May I be allowed to do so?
Okay.
So I can explain.
So let's put it this way, okay? As far as the 3rd to the 7th is concerned, you can summarize the evidence, because
Sure,
the key point that is germane to this inquiry is the date on which you became fully aware of the lie, and that's on the 7th of August, which we heard from you earlier. Right, so bear this in mind. I allow you to elaborate on this, but bear this in mind. What is germane to us is when you knew.
It may be germane to you, sir, but if I have to elaborate on this statement, she would have had to clarify it at some point. Then what would be relevant also is my frame of mind, my attitude towards Ms. Khan after she claimed in Parliament that she had attempted to follow this particular...
So please explain what you mean by at some point.
Sure. So if we go back to the 3rd, Ms. Khan makes this statement in Parliament, this speech in Parliament. She is questioned by MOS Desmond Tan. She then goes to the LO office. I get a message that she is crying in the LO office. I don't understand what is going on. I go to the LO office. I said, look, the truth matters. You have to tell the truth. And and I ask her, look, just substantiate this. When did you go? What happened?
What time was this meeting at the LO office?
I will have to check, Mr. Tong, but I would say it was shortly after MOS Desmond Tan intervenes to say that the police have checked their records and there's no such case, I believe, that they can find.
So what
shortly after that.
Okay. So what did you tell her then?
So I was very clear to her. I think my legislative assistants were in the office, and I told her the truth matters.
Were they part of this conversation?
They weren't part of the conversation, but they were sitting at the side.
But
she was sitting on the settee.
Right.
Yeah. And
so in other words, they were part of the meeting.
I beg your pardon?
Your LAs were part of the meeting.
They were doing other things, watching the speeches as they went along.
Okay.
And so she was crying, and she kept telling me that she can't contact this person. She's unable to contact this person. And so I say, look, you have to clarify it on the record that you can't contact this person, if that indeed is the position. And so
You told her that?
I told her that, absolutely.
That she has to clarify it on the record since she can't contact this person?
That's right, because that was her representation to me.
Okay. Did you tell her in clear terms?
Very clear terms. Okay. I think I have it on a WhatsApp chat, and I would like to present that as evidence to the committee.
Okay. Please carry on.
I beg your pardon? Yes.
Please
and thereafter, she seems to be confused as to how to clarify it. And she says, do I clarify this by email? I said, no, you have to clarify it, in chamber. And so I, based on what she has told me, and because she was completely in a bad state, I draft a short note based on what she has told me about the episode, that she's not been able to contact this person. I draft this short note, and I say, have a look at it. Do you agree with it? And she says, yes, I do. Then she adds another line in that statement, doesn't check with me, and then makes that statement in the House. It's on the record in the House.
So the statement that was made by Ms. Khan subsequent to the clarification by MOS Tan was something that you had drafted?
Yes, that is correct.
Which she revised or did not revise?
She revised one sentence in it.
Okay.
I drafted that, and I said, look, is this something that you agree with? Because only you know the truth. And she agreed with it. And I believe I have this on a WhatsApp chat. Yeah, and then she proceeds to make the statement on the day. Thereafter, I believe Leader of the House rises and she reminds MPs to substantiate when they make an allegation against a government body. I'm not sure whether she used these exact words, but I think that was the thrust of her intervention. And the next few days, I have this again on WhatsApp chat, I continue to press Raeesah to give me details about this episode, what happened. Raeesah, in the course of this, tells me, I'll have to check the dates, but it's on record. I can present those records. Whether it's on the 3rd or on the 5th, I don't remember exactly, or the 6th maybe. On my WhatsApp chat, she says the person's nickname is, and she met her outside Bedok Police Station. So that's what she sent me. And so my perception, of course, is that episode is true, but she's not been successful in contacting the person.
Let me just pause you for a moment. All of what you're telling us now, you subsequently discovered was false.
I subsequently discovered it was false, but I think it goes to the point of your earlier line of questioning, which was, if you know a lie has been told, how do you react and behave towards it?
No, I asked you a question about at some point, what that means.
Yes,
so
that is
focus
correct.
on that.
That's correct. No, but implicit in what you're saying, and you can disagree, of course, is that there's some cover-up that's going on here.
Mr. Singh.
Because that was your line of questioning to the witnesses.
Mr.
I beg your pardon. I don't mean to be argumentative.
No, please don't. Okay. I will be very upfront with you and tell you that I have got no agenda except to ask questions and work out what the facts are. And there's nothing implicit in my questions. It's direct. And I hope you appreciate that. It's direct. Okay, if I'm going to make a suggestion to you, I will do so and tell you. Okay, so please don't read into my questions. I'm not making anything that's implicit.
I'm just reflecting on the questions that were put to the first two witnesses, which is now in the public domain. That's where I was coming from. But please.
So, back to your
can I just quickly finish?
At some point.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, proceed. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead and finish your explanation. I want to hear what you mean by at some point.
Okay. So thereafter, I continue asking her, and she messages me at some point, and she says, "Can I give you a call?" And
Can you give me a rough date reference?
This would have been the 7th. This definitely was the 7th.
On the 7th.
It was a day before she comes to my house. And she asks whether she can call me. I said, yeah, sure. She calls me and I tell her over the phone, I said, look, you've told me all this, but if you can't tell, if you don't know you're not in contact with this person anymore, can you tell me who put you in touch with this person? Because it's not as if you know this victim out of the blue. There must be some NGO, some organization that would have called you. So who are these people? And then she said something to the effect of, no, is there really such a thing as confidentiality? I said, look, I'm SG of this party and I'm asking you a question and I want to know. And then I tell her, I'm only going to ask this once now. Did it happen or not? And then she said, no, it didn't happen. And of course, when I hear that, I am really angry and upset and I cut the call. I may have said something after that, like, we'll talk about this, but I'm not sure really. But I know I was really angry. I cut the call. And that was when I first knew, at the end of that call, that episode was actually untrue. Thereafter, on the 8th, Raeesah comes to my house. We have other matters that we want to discuss as well, between the party leadership, myself, and Raeesah. And she then tells us that she told a lie because she was laboring under this traumatic episode.
Mr. Singh, I'm sorry to cut you off
No,
again,
please.
but I just wanted to tell you that we will get in detail to this meeting.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay,
I can
we will
always
get
give my evidence then.
So don't worry, you'll have an opportunity. But I want a quick answer from you as to what you mean by at some point.
Because you see,
So that I can contextualize this
Yes,
answer.
I understand. So when I got to know, when she said she had been when she was 18, I was prepared to give her the time, speak to her parents, settle herself, speak to a therapist who she admitted at the meeting of the 8th she was seeing, who was aware of her condition. Settle yourself, and once you've done that, we'll have to go to Parliament and you'll have to make a personal statement. That was at least my frame of mind. And so that's what I mean by at some point.
So if I refer you to page 1 of your press statement, and here is part of your prepared speech. At the bottom paragraph, you said, of immediate concern to me was the fact that Raeesah had not previously informed her family members of her sexual assault, which traumatized her greatly.
Yes.
In my judgment, it was important that she did. She did so before she could fully address the reasons behind her untruthful conduct in Parliament and to correct the record.
Yes.
So you then go on to say that I was prepared to give her the space necessary to address the matter with her loved ones.
Yes.
So would that give context to what you mean by at some point? Is this what you mean?
Yes, it would. It would certainly put that in perspective.
So the key criteria would be whether she has informed her members and whether your assessment of her state of mind.
It would be it would be
of immediate concern to you.
It would be whether she had told her parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I would prefer not to go into specific details which are not necessary concerning the sexual assault in this inquiry, where possible. So unless you think it is highly germane, because these proceedings will eventually be made public,
I understand.
I would ask that we try and respect, as far as we can, the experience that Ms. Khan had.
I agree, and I hope you also understand that those were the reasons which I was also thinking of very carefully before determining at what point will she come out and tell the truth.
Well, Mr. Singh, I think the circumstances are very different.
I would agree they are different.
They are very different.
I would agree.
You're talking about clarifying a lie in Parliament as a leader of the Workers' Party, where one of your members had told a lie, and these proceedings here. I think the circumstances are different.
I don't disagree.
Now, go on to your, go back to your press statement. We were at page 3 earlier. And so if you go and finish up the rest of your answer to CNA, you go on to say, I beg your pardon, she repeated what was the untruth that she originally communicated. But certainly if you want to continue as an MP, if you want to continue as a respectable political party, you know of this fact, I think there's only one outcome. It would have to be clarified. Do you stand by this?
Yes, I do.
I think that is the least that can be done, right?
That is the minimum we expect of MPs, I would say. If you tell a lie, you have to correct it.
Thank you. And subject to your views as to what at some point means, it must be on your mind that this clarification must happen as soon as possible, correct?
Ideally, yes, of course.
Not ideally, absolutely, right?
This is where I think the circumstances, in my judgment, were of such a nature that I was prepared to give the member time in view of her. Again, I respect what you said earlier. I used the word earlier because this was the word Ms. Raeesah Khan used when she described herself. But if Chair and the committee would want me to use sexual assault, I'm happy to use that word. I just used that word because that was the word Raeesah Khan used.
Yes. So, and I prefer not that we don't go into any other details unless they are strictly necessary.
I don't really know the details of.
I'm quite happy if you can just use sexual assault.
Okay, I will use sexual assault. So, but just to remember that on record, that's what Ms. Khan told us, that she was raped when she was 18.
All I'm saying is subject to what you have said.
Yes.
And the evidence is on the record about what at some point means.
Yes.
And clarified by the bottom paragraph of the first page of this press statement, which starts with of immediate concern. Subject to that.
I do apologize, Mr. Tong. I don't mean to make it difficult for you. Could you just repeat that, please?
Okay. Yeah. No, earlier on, I put to you that once your statement, let me just read back. There's only one outcome. It would have to be clarified.
That's right.
And I said, this is the least that can be done, and you said you agree.
That's right. That's
minimum.
Right. Absolutely.
And I put to you that in normal circumstances, this has to be done as soon as possible.
In normal circumstances, yes. I didn't see
very
this
urgently, right?
Yes,
normal
of course, of
circumstances.
course. I mean, normal circumstances, we're not going to quibble about the words. I suppose my judgment in this case of what was normal, this was to me highly abnormal.
Well, we'll debate that. But the circumstance that, in your mind, deviates from a usual situation in this case was what you have explained earlier when I asked you about at some point, and which we looked at in the first page of the press statement, correct? That is basically what makes this case, in your mind, unusual.
No, what makes this case unusual in my mind was the fact that I was dealing with an MP who had shared something highly personal and private to me, and I had to deal with it, in my view, as sensitively as I could.
Yes, and so the circumstances which you say were of immediate concern to you, whether her family members were informed, whether or not you had made an assessment of her state of mind, these were the circumstances, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. Now, you then go on to say, if I may refer you back to page 2 of your press statement, second line from the top, it was nonetheless made known to her before the parliamentary sitting in October that any parliamentary clarification on this matter was hers to make in her capacity as an elected member of parliament. Again, you carefully drafted this statement, right?
That's right.
The word nonetheless means even taking into account the abnormal circumstances in this case.
No, I wouldn't go so far.
No. The word nonetheless is used in this statement to say that taking into account the circumstances, you had made known to her before the October sitting
I would go to the sentence.
let me
Sorry,
finish.
sorry, go ahead.
that the clarification was hers to make. Agree?
No, disagree.
You
Because
disagree.
nonetheless, in my mind, related to the earlier sentence, Raeesah came down with an episode of shingles in September and did not attend Parliament that month. But the anticipation is there's a sitting coming along
I
in
see.
October.
Okay,
Hence.
I understand.
Yes,
No, please put it on the record. What you mean?
I just did.
No, you were halfway through. You said there was a sitting coming along in October. So
Yes,
please finish.
that's what. So there was a sitting coming along in October, and vis-a-vis that October sitting, I made it clear to her that she had to take ownership and responsibility for what had happened.
Right. So let's unpack this.
Yes.
That statement would have had to be made to her before October. It follows, right?
Before the October sitting.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And secondly, when you say any parliamentary clarification on this matter, you see the words?
Yes.
The phrase parliamentary clarification must mean come clean and tell the truth. Correct?
The phrase means you have to set the record right in Parliament.
It means explain that it was a lie
That's right.
and tell the truth now.
Exactly.
Right. So, therefore, it was known to her before October that she was to tell the truth.
Not before October.
Before the October sitting.
Before the October sitting. That's
All
right.
right. Now,
Could you repeat that question again, just specifically?
the last question was, therefore, it was known to her before the October sitting that she was to tell the truth.
That she, my words to her was to take ownership and responsibility of the matter, which extends to telling the truth. Yes.
Which, in fact, must fundamentally include telling the truth. That's the whole raison d'etre behind the clarification, correct?
That's to remind her that, indeed, you have to take ownership and responsibility of the matter. You are an elected MP. You've made an oath of Parliament.
Mr. Singh.
You should do what the right
No,
thing
Mr.
is.
Singh, and I hope Mr. Chairman can make a direction. Please don't rephrase my question.
I didn't mean to.
Okay.
I apologize
Just
if you
my,
think I
my
did.
questions are designed with a yes or no, and you can always clarify later on and
Absolutely.
elaborate. Okay. So let me try again. Just to give you the context, you had said my words to her was to take ownership and responsibility of the matter, which extends to telling the truth. And I said, in fact, it must fundamentally include telling the truth. That's the whole raison d'etre behind making a clarification, correct? Your
yes,
answer?
yes,
Yes.
but can I clarify?
Yes.
It also had to, that assumes that she would have closed the issue off with her parents, because to me that was important. It was going to be made public in the event she told the truth, that details of her sexual assault, to the extent that she made in her eventual statement,
Yes.
would come out.
Okay.
And in my view, I thought it would be very improper if her loved ones didn't know about it. And she
First.
told this to the whole of Singapore before that.
Which is the point you articulated in the bottom of the first page of the statement.
Page 1?
Page 1,
Yes, that is correct.
yeah, all right, thank you. The paragraph that starts with of immediate concern, correct?
That is correct. The last paragraph on page 1.
Okay. Now, go back to page 2, we were there. You
Yes.
then have 2 more paragraphs which explain this. Briefly, questioned by MHA on 4th October.
I beg your pardon, which paragraph are you at?
Sorry, I stopped at the top paragraph. I'm now going to the second paragraph.
From the top.
So you related what happened on the 4th of October,
Yes.
and then what happened after the 4th of October in the next 2 paragraphs.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your mind, and again, I know the caveat you made about at some point, okay, bearing this in mind, it was highly imperative for such a clarification of the truth to be made.
At some point, yes.
It was, in fact, very important to ensure that the deception that Parliament was under would be clarified.
Yes. I may disagree with the choice of the word deception, but certainly what Ms. Khan did was not the truth.
Well,
and this is not what we expect from Workers' Party MPs in Parliament.
but not the truth is a deception, Mr. Singh.
There are different words for a reason.
In your mind, this conversation or this clarification with her before the October sitting, was she under any doubt that that was what you had in mind? In your mind?
I do not believe she would have been under any doubt because she would have... can I explain?
No, just answer the question.
I do not believe she would have been under any doubt.
Okay.
And I wish to explain why I think
Yes.
that. Can I do so?
Please do.
Yes. So vis-a-vis my conduct towards her from the 3rd to the 7th, pressing her for the truth, given that she is in receipt of rules of prudence, which I signed off and gave to her before, and to all the WP MPs before last year. It was after the first sitting of Parliament. And given that I had told her to tell her parents, all these would have informed her that she would have had to come out with the truth. And given what I told her on the 3rd of August, where I visited her, my wife had to drop off some things to...
Mean 3rd of
3rd of
October.
3rd of October, I beg your pardon, 3rd of October.
Okay, we'll come to that.
Sure.
We'll come to that. But I wanted to say...
But can I just finish answering the question? And so with all these, with all this information, and I mean, she would know what sort of person I am, I would think, like all my MPs do, she would know that she would have had to tell the truth.
So, the answer to my question as to whether you thought she was under any doubt or misapprehension as to your clear direction, the answer would be no, right?
She would have been clear. Yes, the answer would be no.
Okay.
That's my view.
Okay. Now, Mr. Singh, the timeline was this. 7th August, you were aware, and the next parliamentary sitting would have been September. You said she had shingles just before the sitting, I believe.
She uploaded a post, a Facebook post about it, and she told me as well. I've got it on a WhatsApp message when she
But
got
the point
shingles.
you're making is that she was not present in Parliament and therefore could not clarify. Is that
She
what
was
you're
not
saying?
present in Parliament, but I did not speak to her before the September sitting. I have to put that on record.
Right. But in October, you were aware that she would be in Parliament and there was a sitting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you went to her home on the 3rd of October,
That's right.
correct?
That's right.
And you brought up the issue with her
I.
of the clarification.
That's right. I did.
I think you were trying to make that point earlier
I did.
in your
I did.
narrative.
I did.
Because you said your wife had a present, you said.
No, it wasn't a present. I mean, she's got a young daughter. I've got young daughters, and I think they had something to do. And
Fine.
yeah,
So would it be fair to say that you anticipated that the issue might arise the next day on the 4th of October?
it would
correct?
certainly have been possible.
Yes. In fact, you anticipated it, right?
I wouldn't go so far. I'm not a clairvoyant, but it would certainly be possible for it to have come up. Yes.
Yeah, and I think, well, put it this way. You said you didn't speak to her before the September sitting.
That is right.
And in your account earlier as to why you believed it was clear to her, you described to me August 3rd to August 7th, and then you described to me October 3rd with nothing in between, right? That was what I took away from what you said.
So the issue, can I explain?
Yes or no? Was there anything in between that you want to talk about?
There was.
There was. Okay. Tell me.
It wasn't directly to her. As Mr. Tong, you would know, we were preparing for the FICA debate in October. In the course of my preparations for the FICA debate, I was reading up old Hansard records of the Hendrickson affair, and there was a particular episode where Mr. Chiam Sitong makes a allegation that NTUC members were paid $3 to $5 to manufacture a protest against the Americans.
Don't think we need to go.
I'll tell you why this is relevant. Then, of course, the PAP members in Parliament stood up and said, substantiate this. You should withdraw it. And so there was a pretty long exchange. A few PAP members stood up and challenged Mr. Chiam. And Mr. Chiam said, the person who told me about this is actually sitting in the visitors gallery.
Mr.
And
Singh.
I'll tell you why this is important. So that episode then, something clicked in my mind. I said, look, and I sent an email on the 1st of October to all the WP members as I'm preparing for the FICA debate to say that if you do something like this and you cannot substantiate what you say, you're going to be prepared to appear before the Committee of Privileges. Okay. So the issue was at the back of my mind, the seriousness of it, the importance of it to, the bare standards that really Workers' Party MPs should uphold.
Okay.
And this is unacceptable. I would like to present this. I'm sure I can pull that email out. I would like to present this as evidence to the committee.
Please do. Anything else? We were in the period in between. You remember? August 3rd
Yes,
to 7th?
I do.
And
Yes,
then
I do.
October 3rd, and now you said October 1st, there's an email.
That's right.
Anything else?
No, I don't believe so.
Right.
I don't believe so.
And all of these occasions form the reasons for your belief that Ms. Khan was very clear that she would have to clarify the truth in Parliament.
That's right. That's right.
Now, can I invite you to look at Ms. Khan's evidence
Yes,
this
I'm
meeting?
happy to look at it.
Can the clerk please assist Mr. Singh
I mean, this is the-
and pick up 2nd of December.
use it. Submission to COP by Ms. Raeesah Khan on the 2nd of December, yes.
No, sorry, clerk. It's the evidence given by Ms. Khan on the 2nd of December.
I think he's talking about the evidence that she gave to the COP.
Yeah, it's the transcripts.
Committee of Privileges, minutes of evidence, Thursday, 2nd December 2021,
Yes.
11 a.m.
Yes, please turn to page 83.
Yes.
Now, just to give you a time frame, your press conference, the transcriptions of which, the transcribed notes of which you have in front of you, took place last Thursday.
Yes?
It was almost at the same time, if not at the same time, as when this COP was sitting and taking evidence.
Yes, I came to know later, yes.
And both Ms. Loh, who gave evidence, as well as Ms. Khan, were not aware of the press conference before they gave evidence?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'm telling you that because they were here and they were sequestered and they were not aware of what was said at the press conference at the time they gave this evidence. So
it wouldn't surprise me.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And so
Yes.
look at the evidence in that light. They had no idea
Right.
of what was being said
Sure.
at the press conference.
Sure.
Okay. Now, when you went to see, have the document in front of you, but let me just set the context. You said that you went to Ms. Khan's home
Yes.
on the 3rd of October
With my wife.
with your wife. Can you tell me what happened at this occasion?
Sure. So we visit her home on the 3rd of October. As I alluded to earlier, my wife had something to, I think they were baby clothes, but I can't be absolutely sure. And this was in the evening. I reckon it was about 6+, but I have to double check my messages, what time it was. She was at home. I knocked the door. Her father and mother were there. We had a short conversation. I mean, it was, they're nice people. They're pleasant people. We had a quick chat. Her husband was there. We said hello. And her son was there. I didn't see the daughter, but her son was definitely there.
I'd like you to focus on what you told Ms. Khan
Sure,
concerning the
But
clarification.
there was something interesting that happened. Her, out of the blue, I didn't expect it because I don't talk to her mother very much. And her mother, Ms. Khan's mother, told me, Parliament can be not so serious or not. It was a fragment. I didn't know what to make of it, but I told her, I said, Auntie, Parliament is very, very serious. And then her mother goes away. Then I sit Ms. Khan, and I sit with Ms. Khan, and I tell her, look, I am not sure what is going to happen with this thing that has, this anecdote that you've told, but it is entirely possible that there could be a clarification made. Somebody may ask you something about it, and it is important that you take responsibility and take ownership of the issue. And I did say, and she started getting a bit uncomfortable when I said that, and then I told her, I will not judge you. And I will not judge you meant I will not judge you if you take responsibility and ownership. That was the gist of the conversation. I didn't get the sense that she was going to be uncomfortable with telling the truth. She never communicated anything of that sort to me. And at no point did she say, Pritam, I don't know what to do. Please help me. I need guidance. I need advice. Okay. No, nothing of that sort. I'm just trying to put the context of the 3rd of October meeting.
Okay. So
and then, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, are you finished?
Oh, okay, no, not yet. And in gist, that was what I recall from the 3rd October conversation. And then, of course, I took my leave and we left. Maybe we may have stayed a little while longer because my wife was playing with her son. So
okay, I don't need to know
can't
that.
remember exactly
I'm really
whether we left immediately or not. Yeah, but that was
okay,
what
so
happened.
just focus on what's germane, okay?
Sure.
Now, I'd like to show you Ms. Khan's recollection
Yes.
of what happened. Please turn to page 83.
Yes.
Can you go somewhere just after halfway down the page where you see Ms. Raeesah Khan says before the October sitting? So this is her account of the same conversation.
Yes.
Let me read it to you.
Sure.
Before the October sitting, I had a conversation with the leader of the opposition, Pritam Singh, and the conversation was that if I were to retain the narrative or if I were to continue the narrative, there would be no judgment. Can you tell us which date this took place? 3rd October.
It would have to be the 3rd of October.
Where did this take place? In my house. Was there anyone else present besides the two of you? No, there was not.
Okay, that's untrue.
Are there...
I think she has told a lie. That's not true.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
I mean...
Sorry, my apologies. But, I mean, you must understand my shock when she says no one was at home, because her whole family was at home.
Mr. Singh, this can't be the first time you're hearing this. I mean, you would have seen the transcript.
I saw the transcript. I was shocked about it, and I want to relate to you that this is not true.
Go over the page. The discussion for you to retain the narrative and there will be no judgment, can you give me the interpretation of that? What do you make of that statement? My interpretation was that there will be no consequences for me to continue the narrative that I had begun in August. In other words, there will be no consequences on you if you continue the lie and keep up the contention that there was this occasion, this anecdote that you had described on 3rd of August despite it being a lie. That was my interpretation, yes. And there was therefore no attempt by Mr. Singh to ask you to clarify the matter in favor of putting out the truth. Not at that point in time, no. Not on 3rd October, no. So you disagree with this?
Absolutely.
So if this is what Ms. Khan said, you would say she's lying.
Absolutely.
Mr. Singh, let's see what the common areas are, first of all. You went to a home on 3rd of October,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You expected the issue to arise in Parliament the next day, on the 4th of October, right?
I did not expect it to.
You anticipated it might.
It would be possible.
Okay, so you anticipated that it might.
It might.
Arise. And you went to her, you raised the topic with her.
That is correct.
Correct. And you did say, I will not judge you.
Yes, I did. But that was a fragment of a larger conversation.
Okay. What else? So these are the points that we agree on so far. What else from this evidence that I've just read to you do you agree with?
You're talking about Ms. Khan's
Yes,
evidence.
what I just read to you.
I don't understand this.
No, what else do you agree with?
I just said it's not true. How can I agree with something I've said is not true?
Well, we agreed on a few points.
But that wasn't
about the
specifically
incident.
relating to this.
Okay, is there anything else here you agree with?
No.
No. Okay, so your position is that as far as this evidence is concerned, Ms. Khan would be lying.
Yes. Look, if I can be even the slightest bit charitable,
No.
she completely read the wrong thing that I had put to her. When I tell you to take responsibility, it means precisely that. If you look at my conduct towards you in the run-up to what you had said in Parliament, if I really wanted to let this narrative lie, I don't know where this word comes from, but if I really wanted to do that, I would have just left it where the leader of the House left it. Please substantiate in future.
Now, on the 4th of October, this issue that you had thought might arise did arise, right?
Yes.
And it arose immediately after PQs. You remember?
I'll have to check, but yes, it did arise, yeah.
Let me give you some data.
Sure, please do.
You can take it from me. Parliament sat at 11 a.m. on the 4th of October, and the usual PQs, an hour and a half. 12:30 it ended. At 12:30, Minister Shanmugam stood up to seek the Speaker's permission to make a ministerial statement, a short ministerial statement.
I think Mr. Leong Man Wai wanted to say something. I remember this.
Yes,
Yes.
I think we all remember that.
Yes.
But just to give you,
No, actually, Mr. Tong, I will accept your recollection of what transpired that day.
okay. So, can I please invite you to look at the Hansard? Could you please assist, Mr. Singh? For
I'll
the
just
4th
leave
of October.
this open here. And
Yes,
in
please
case we
leave it
need to come
open.
back to
Yeah,
it.
I may come back to it.
Sure. Yes, Mr. Leong Man Wai. It starts with Mr. Leong Man Wai.
I'm not surprised.
No, he wanted to put in this petition.
Yes, I
before
think
the
it was a
FICA
little
bill
bit out
came.
of turn.
Sure,
and I
sure.
think Mr. Shanmugam then. Yes.
No, it wasn't so bad, Mr. Chairman. I mean, he's entitled to try and put in his view.
Okay, but anyway, what's important for me is this, that Mr. Shanmugam starts at 12:30, or shortly thereafter, after Mr. Leong Man Wai's intervention.
Yes.
Now, you were in chamber at that point in time.
Yes, I was.
So was Ms. Khan, right?
Yes.
And about 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes after Minister Shanmugam started on his ministerial statement and before he finished, and you can take it from me that he finished after 6 minutes. So if you go to page 3 of this Hansard transcript, where he says, he concludes by saying, "So, sir, through you, may I ask Ms. Khan for those details?" That would be around 12:36, 37.
I'll take it from you.
Now, can you leave that transcript open and please pick up the bundle of documents provided by Ms. Low on the, I think it is the 2nd or 3rd of December. The fairly substantial bundle. Yes.
Thank you.
No, sorry, I beg your pardon. It's not Ms. Low. I'm sorry, it's Ms. Khan. My apologies. The bundle should be the Ms. Khan bundle on the 2nd of December. Now, go ahead. Do you need anything, Mr. Singh?
Submission to COP by Ms. Raeesah Khan, 2nd December.
Yes.
Yes.
So to give you an orientation of the documents we have, Mr.
Yes.
Singh, I mentioned at the start, from time to time, we may ask you for documents,
Sure.
emails, messages,
Sure.
WhatsApp, Telegram, and so on.
Sure.
And in the course of the earlier witnesses' testimony, they also give us some of their message records,
Right.
email records, and
Right.
so on. And this came from Ms. Khan
Right.
on the 2nd of December. So if you can go, just have a quick flip over it, you will see that there were some WhatsApp messages in text form. And then near the end, there are some screenshots. Do you see that? And at the bottom of the page, you will see a page numbering.
I don't see that. The only screenshot I see is Raeesah claiming on the 8th of August that I had met up with Pritam, Sylvia, and Faisal.
Maybe
and
I'll show,
we spoke about
I'll
the
show
Muslim.
the clerk which I have in mind, and then you can assist me. Sorry, Mr. Singh, I think she will assist.
Oh, the wrong document. Okay. It's okay, take your time.
She sent it at 8:18 p.m. Just give her a moment, Mr.
Sure, sure, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so she shared some screenshots of her messages with you, Mr. Singh. So if I could ask you to look at the bundle that has the page numbering below,
Yes.
out of 17. Do you see
Yes,
that?
yes,
Okay, turn to page 4 of 17.
yes,
This is a screenshot of her messages with you
yes,
on the 4th of October.
yes,
And you will see at 12:34,
Yes.
she says, "What should I do, Pritam?"
yes, I see that.
So she has sent you this message whilst Minister Shanmugam was
Yes.
making his ministerial
Yes.
statement, right?
Yes.
You were present in chamber, and
Yes, I
obviously
was.
Ms. Khan was present in chamber. Why do you think she would send you this message?
I didn't see the message.
No,
at the
I
point.
know that.
Yeah.
You may say that, but my question is a different one.
Okay.
Why do you think she would send you this message?
I can't read into her mind, but it may well be that she is fearful of coming out with the truth.
At that point in time, according to your evidence, there was no doubt in your mind that she knew that should the matter come up for clarification, she would have to clarify
Yeah.
the truth,
So,
right?
yeah, because I had told her to take ownership and responsibility. So in my mind, it would have been clear what the right thing to do was.
Right. So this message, 4 minutes into Minister Shanmugam's speech, would come out like a bolt out of the blue, right? Completely at odds with your understanding of what she was to do,
So
correct?
I'll tell you exactly when I saw the message.
No, that's not my question.
I did so. I didn't. Please ask your question again, Mr. Tong.
No,
I apologize.
So
Go
please,
ahead.
please do focus. You know,
Yes.
I'm not asking you when you saw it.
Right.
I said that receiving a message 4 minutes into Minister Shanmugam's speech concerning an issue which you had contemplated might arise just the day before,
Yes.
and went to a home to speak about it,
Yes.
to receive a message at 12:34 asking you, what should I do, Pritam?
Yes.
Would be completely at odds with your understanding of what she is to do.
That is correct.
And so I go back to my earlier question. Why do you think she would send such a text
I can't answer
if
that
it had
question,
already
Mr.
been
Tong.
made known to her as you told the press?
Mr. Tong, this may seem like a deviation, but we can come back to it and cut me off if you feel it's inappropriate. She revealed some things about her condition, a condition she's laboring under on the 29th of November to the WP
No,
disciplinary
I don't
panel.
want to go into that now.
Yeah, but you're asking me about what she thinks. Now, if
Okay, I'm asking you contemporaneously because you obviously would not have been aware of
No,
what she may have
absolutely
revealed
not.
subsequently.
That's
okay?
right, that's right,
So let me just sketch it out for you again.
right,
You went to see her,
Right.
3rd of October,
yes,
contemplating that the issue might arise, which means that you felt if it arose, you would speak, tell the truth,
absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Which means she's ready to do so in your mind.
She would have to do so,
Yes, and she was ready to do so, correct?
yes.
By the 4th of October, correct?
Whether she was ready was something for her to take responsibility for as an MP of the Workers' Party.
Yes,
I
but-
can't
but-
assuredly say that she was ready, but I had communicated to her, you have to take ownership and
And
responsibility
you
on
thought
the
it
3rd.
may happen on the 4th of October, right?
It could have happened. I wasn't sure.
Could have in what way?
I mean, like I said, I can't foresee that the matter could have come up.
Okay. But if the matter did come up, which you had contemplated,
Right.
it would be for her to clarify.
Yes.
And she would have to
For
clarify.
her, not just to clarify.
Hang on. It would be to clarify and tell the truth,
That's absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And you felt that by seeing her on the 3rd of October, you felt that this might come up and she would have to come to Parliament and speak the truth.
I can't disagree, yes.
Yes. So in that context, receiving such a message, in the context of everything you told us, 3rd to 7th August, 1st October, 3rd October, would be at odds, completely at odds with your own understanding of what she is to do.
Yes.
Now, you didn't reply till later, so we'll come to that. You replied to this message, but later.
Yes.
But I'd like to show
Can we
you...
just, I said, we'll speak after sitting, keep chair, and I posted.
I know, you said that later, but
Yes.
I wanted to give you a sense of the timeline.
Right.
And to do that, I think the best thing to do is to look at the video.
Sure.
Okay, so if I may ask the clerk to please assist me and look at the video. Can we have the volume, please? Just pause for a moment. If you like, Mr. Singh, you can have the hands up transcripts open so that you know where, which segment is, if you like. So this segment here
Yeah.
picks up from after Minister Shanmugam has finished.
Right, page 3 or 4.
Yes.
Okay.
And as I explained to you earlier, this is around the 12:36, 12:37 time period. So 2 to 3 minutes after she sent you the text, she gets up to make her first response to Minister Shanmugam, and this is what it is.
Yes.
Please play it.
Like I said, it did happen 3 years ago, and I haven't been successful getting in touch with the person that I Thank you. I do not know the identity of the police officer.
Okay, please pause. Mr. Singh,
Yes.
you will see that between her first response and her second response, this time round, she brings her phone to the podium.
I didn't notice that, but I notice it now.
Yes. Well, I obviously didn't notice it then as well, but I'd like to draw that to your attention.
Okay.
And later on, you will see that she does look at the phone, and I will make some suggestions to you later.
Sure.
Okay, please play the video.
Questions on police station, date, etc.
With regards to confidentiality with the survivor, I would not like to reveal any of this information. Thank you.
So we're talking about the police station. It's got nothing to do with the confidentiality of the survivor.
Ms. Raeesah Khan, Minister's not asking about the identity of the individual.
I understand, but with regards to confidentiality, I wouldn't like. I will not be revealing any other information. Thank you.
So I have to say that perhaps the speaker has the power to direct answers since the matter has been raised, and through user, I'll ask for a direction to be given. That we be told which police station and the month, and if not the date, at least the month and which police station.
Ms. Khan, I think that's a fair question. Would you like to respond, or are you holding to the same position? The reason is that certain allegations have been made, which I think are fair and serious, and the police, I understand, would like to follow up to check to make sure that they can rectify the situation. So any leads would be those without divulging the name of the lady concerned.
Thank you. I'll still like to for it to remain confidential. Thank you.
Minister.
So I don't understand this point about confidentiality.
Okay, pause the video. So throughout this question, besides the first occasion when she stood up to answer Minister Shanmugam, I would suggest to you that she brought her phone because she was waiting for an answer from you.
Oh, then, Minister, that's a tall ask from me. I would not know why she brought her phone.
But it would be a reasonable assumption, right?
Why? Can I make an equally reasonable assumption?
No, let me suggest this to you. Minister Shanmugam stands up to speak. The issue about, by now we know it's a lie, has come up.
Yes.
So she's obviously concerned.
Yes.
She sent the leader of her party a question as to what she should do. A very direct question.
Yes.
And she's being pressed
Yes.
to answer several questions.
Yes.
Both
As I have pressed her before. Yes.
both by Minister Shanmugam and by the Speaker.
Yes.
And I suggest to you that she's looking at her phone to see if you would reply and what your direction would be.
Why can't she be looking at her phone to look at the statement she has made and to see whether she has already answered the question that Minister has asked her on the phone? We wouldn't know.
I can't rule it out, but
Your guess is as good as mine.
but my suggestion would not be an unreasonable one, right?
I would reject it because we are trying to project our view onto what Raeesah Khan's intentions are.
Of course, but
I don't know. I can't.
I'm just asking you to assist this committee, if you might, to say that taking the phone to the podium in this way, having just sent you a question, a direct question on what to do about a topic that she's currently addressing, would be not an unreasonable view be that she was waiting for an answer from you?
I think it would be very unreasonable because she knows full well how her party leader has dealt with her by pressing her after she made the initial lie in Parliament, what to do. I pressed her and pressed her and pressed her until I got the truth out of her. And now you're telling me I'm turning around to say, Raeesah Khan, you don't know what to do? She jolly well should know what to do. She has to tell the truth. End of story.
Yes, but nonetheless, she asked you a question.
Which I did not see at that time.
Yes.
I actually, what do you want to know when I saw it?
Obviously, the time of your response will give me an indication.
I beg your pardon?
The time of your response would give me an indication.
Thank you.
Now, and that was after the entire exchange, right? If you like, I can play out the exchange on video, but I think
No, I mean, I think the Hansard is
you
quite
know how
sufficient.
it played out.
Yes.
So she completed it. At the end of the exchange, she repeated her lies
Yes.
several times.
Yes.
And you will remember that after pressing for details several times, Minister Shanmugam said, or rather asked for Ms. Khan to confirm that everything that she has told us in this house is accurate and that she did accompany such a person and such an incident did happen, and she said yes.
Yes,
That would be a barefaced lie.
absolutely.
And you would know that, right?
I would know that. I had known that by then.
Yes. And it would be completely at odds with what you had understood she would do if this matter came up in Parliament.
That is correct. That is correct.
Right. So go back to Ms. Khan's bundle.
Her WhatsApp messages?
Yes,
or
the WhatsApp messages.
Okay.
You wanted to look at your response, right?
Yes,
Yes. So at 12:45, you respond.
yes.
Will speak after sitting. Keep chair and I posted. That was your response.
That's right.
By that time, I think you said earlier, you knew that what she had said in August was false.
That's right.
And you also knew that what she had just repeated in Parliament was a reiteration of the falsehoods.
That is correct.
What's worse than lying in Parliament is repeating the same lie in Parliament 2 months apart, correct?
Whether it's 2 months or 1 hour, it's the gravity is the same.
Yes.
You have lied.
Well-
That should not happen. That should never happen.
Yes. So it's worse to have repeated it
Yes.
1 hour or 2 months later, right?
Absolutely.
So you must have appreciated that by that time, this was a far more serious and grave issue, right?
The fact is, she had not told the truth.
And continued the lie and repeated it several times
Yes.
on the 4th of October.
That
right?
is correct.
So you would have appreciated that there was a far greater, more grave situation,
Yes.
right?
It made it very clear that the decision now was out of her hands, whether she wanted to,
We'll come to that.
whether she wanted to.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Well,
But
can I
asking-
finish this?
No. I'm asking you for your state of mind then. Once you heard her,
Yeah.
she finished around 12:42.
Yes.
Take it from me.
Yes.
You would have appreciated that the situation by now at 12:42 had become far more grave and serious, correct?
The situation was uncorrected, and
Answer my question. As I said,
of course,
please
of course,
don't
absolutely.
paraphrase.
I mean, absolutely. It was
Don't speak
terrible.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So just answer my question. Don't paraphrase my question. And by that time, you, Ms. Sylvia Lim, and Mr. Faisal Manap were aware of the falsehoods, and by that time, would have appreciated that what she said in Parliament on the 4th of October was a repeat of the falsehoods, correct?
My answer to both questions is yes.
And so the matter became more grave, not only for Ms. Khan, but also for the Workers' Party, and I would say in particular for you as the leader of the opposition and the leader of the Workers' Party. Agree?
Disagree. The matter became grave to the extent that we have an elected member of Parliament of the Workers' Party who is not telling the truth. What are we going to do about it? That's a fair question. I think this is what you're getting at.
No, I'm simply putting to you a simple proposition. A
Yes.
member of the Workers' Party, an elected member of Parliament, one of the current serving members of Parliament at that time of Sengkang GRC,
Yes.
one of your colleagues,
Yes.
of which you are the leader of the party, had repeated the lie.
Yes, that's factual.
Yes. And so it's made it a lot more of a grave situation. We agreed that earlier.
For herself, yes.
And for the party.
Well, I have a view on that. I have a view on that.
You
because
agree or disagree? Tell me.
I disagree because.
disagree. So
because
hang on.
Let me explain.
No,
You
not-
said, you told me just now if I disagree, I can explain.
Yes, but let me finish with my train of thought, okay, so
Sure.
that we don't cut across each other.
Go ahead.
So what I understand from you is on the 4th of October, you didn't think that the situation for the Workers' Party was grave.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Was the situation for the Workers' Party grave by the 4th of October?
The situation did
Answer my question. Don't
No.
paraphrase it.
No.
No. So, you see, Mr. Singh, don't play with words, okay?
You are asking about the Workers' Party. You switched from Raeesah Khan to Workers' Party. So
No.
you're going to get a different answer from me, whether you like it
Oh,
or
let
not.
me read back to you then.
Go ahead.
And so it's made it a lot more grave situation. We agreed to that earlier. For herself, yes. For the party, we have a view on that. You agree or disagree? I disagree. Let me finish my train of thought. Don't cut across each other. So what I understand from you is that on the 4th of October, you did not think the situation for the Workers' Party was grave. And you said, I didn't say that. But your earlier answer was, it's made it a lot more grave for the party, and you said you disagree.
Yes.
So which is the truth?
What are the two propositions again? Put them out again, please.
Mr. Singh, let's try again. Okay, I think we have your answer on record, but
Yes, I think
let's
so
try
too.
again. By the 4th of October, the situation for the Workers' Party, having just seen this exchange where Ms. Khan repeated her lie, that scenario made the situation a lot more grave for the Workers' Party. Agree?
Disagree.
And it would also make the situation a lot more grave for you as the leader of the opposition. Agree?
Disagree.
And it would make it a lot more grave for you and Ms. Lim and Mr. Faisal Manap in particular, because by the 4th of October, the three of you and no one else were the only people in chamber, in Parliament, who were aware that Ms. Khan on the 4th of October was repeating her lies and deceiving Parliament.
Disagree.
Was there anyone else who was aware on the 4th of October
No.
in Parliament?
No.
So you agree that only the three of you were aware of information that would tell us that what you have just seen that was repeated by Ms. Khan was a deception on Parliament, right?
Yes, only the three of us. Can I be, Chair, can I please explain my state of mind at this time?
Let me finish my questions. So you want to explain why you say that the situation is not more grave for you. Please explain.
Thank you. So, as I have alluded to earlier, I believe, the leader of the opposition, anyone in Parliament, doesn't take an oath, a party leader, doesn't take an oath on behalf of all his MPs. Each MP takes an oath on their own standing, on their own merit. In my mind, you are a leader of the Workers' Party. It's not just in your capacity as a member of a GRC. Every Workers' Party MP is a leader. They have to take responsibility, and I will like to, I've already mentioned it, I will advance my rules of prudence to the committee. It's very clear the sort of responsibility that is expected of you. If you honor the oath that you've taken, it is your prerogative to set the record right. Now, more specifically, I do not know at that point whether Ms. Khan has told her parents what has happened. Only she knows the truth to them. And if I stand up and say, Ms. Khan, you told me that you were suffering from a traumatic episode, you were a victim of sexual assault, without knowing that this information has been communicated to the parents, what have I just done? That's something for Ms. Khan to own up to and take responsibility for. That was my thinking.
Are you done?
I'm done.
A falsehood has just been repeated in Parliament by one of your members.
Yes.
Leave aside her responsibility, which I think there can be no doubt. And I don't disagree with you on this. As the leader of the opposition, you have no duty to correct the falsehood on record?
I have a duty to correct the falsehood on record. The question is, at what time do I do it, given the unique situation that concerns this falsehood? It's not a falsehood.
You see, Mr. Singh, just the day before, you had anticipated, contemplated that this issue would come up.
Yes.
And you were, in your mind, prepared for it to be clarified if it came up, right? We agreed on this.
It could have come up, yes.
Yes, and if it came up, she would clarify and tell the truth.
Yes,
Come
absolutely.
clean.
That's what I told her to do. That I told her to take ownership and responsibility. Yes.
And the very reason why you spoke to her on the 3rd of October is because you contemplated that it would come out on the 4th and she would be prepared to speak on the 4th.
Yes.
And so, all of this about whether she was ready, whether she has told her parents, could not have been on your mind.
No, absolutely not. It had to be on my mind.
Could not have been on your mind at that time because by the 3rd of October, you had contemplated it will come up and you were prepared for her to go to Parliament and you said you won't judge her.
That's your case theory, Mr.
No,
Tong.
I'm putting it to you.
I disagree with it.
It must have been the case, Mr. Singh.
It's
I mean,
not.
look, it's logical.
To you
told,
it is.
You told the press that you had made known to her,
Yes.
Yes.
Before
the parliamentary sitting.
How does that contradict anything I've said? I expected her to take ownership and tell the truth.
And
She
when
didn't.
she did not, and when
Yes.
she did not,
Yes.
it's not for you now, with respect, to say, but I thought it's because you did not tell your father. Yet.
Oh, I completely disagree. I don't know how many victims of sexual assault or sexual crimes you have dealt with, Mr. Tong, but I certainly haven't dealt with any.
Please don't
But
make reference to me in this personal
Let
way.
me reply. Well, because
don't
it is
make
your,
reference-
your
Mr. Singh.
recollection, it is your
Mr.
view.
Singh, please don't make a reference to me in a personal manner. all right?
Mr. Tong, I think you're being hypersensitive. I am not making any personal reference against you.
Please do not, please keep it at a level where we deal with the evidence.
We have been
Right.
dealing with the evidence.
Now, let me suggest to you again. On the 3rd of October, you go and see Ms. Khan at her home.
Yes.
You expect the issue to arise the very next day.
It is possible that it would arise.
Yes, you expected it. I think of that, there can be no doubt.
That's,
tell her-
that's your evidence.
I think we have what you said on record. Mr. Lee reminds me. You tell her, I will not judge you. That statement can only mean, whatever you say in Parliament, I will not judge you. You agree?
Disagree?
You disagree?
It was a fragment of a larger statement which you are ignoring, which has to do with taking ownership and responsibility. And in that context, I will not judge you.
Mr. Singh, I mean,
Yes.
we heard your evidence, so let's try not to obfuscate, okay?
Nobody's obfuscating.
Well, focus on the evidence. And
I have been focused
and
on
be
it.
direct. And be direct,
I have been direct.
okay? 3rd of October,
Yes.
you contemplated the issue might arise. Fair?
Fair.
Yes. And you told her, I will not judge you, right?
Fragment of a statement? Yes, I did.
And you had expected that if the issue came up, she would clarify and tell the truth, correct?
Yes.
Right. In that context, knowing what we know, can I invite you to look at your answer again?
Where?
The WhatsApp messages. You have it?
Yes, I do.
Yes. 12:45.
Yes.
We'll speak after sitting. Keep
Yes.
chair and I posted.
Yes.
In the context of everything that I've told you, Mr. Singh, this is a thoroughly underwhelming response by you. Don't you agree?
What am I supposed to say on? You seem to know what I would say on WhatsApp.
Well, I'm looking at it from logic and
Yes.
human behavior.
Yes.
You are the leader of the opposition.
Sorry, looking at it from human behavior, you say.
And logic, what someone
your
would do,
logic.
it's a matter of logic.
Right.
You are the leader of the opposition. One
Yes.
of your MPs have come to Parliament to lie. We agreed it's very serious. She's lied again, which is even more serious. You have told her, made clear to her, that she was going to clarify in Parliament. When it comes up, it has come up. She's repeated the lie. And your response is, we'll speak after sitting. See you later.
I fully expect her to be in tatters and crying again like how she was when she made the lie in the first place.
Mr. Singh, that's also a speculation on your part.
Yes, the same way you are speculating about
No,
human
but-
behavior and logic.
No, but the difference between what you are saying and what I'm saying is that at 12:45,
Yes.
you could have asked to see her and decided for yourself whether she was indeed in tatters, as you put it.
I think I know this lady a little bit better than you, Mr. Tong. I
Mr.
know how
Singh.
she reacted after
Just
she
answer my
told the
question.
initial lie.
No, just answer my question.
And so that is my state of mind.
So could you, at 12:45, have asked to see her immediately? Yes or no?
I think there's a parliament.
Yes
I could
or
have,
no?
of course, but I'm leader of the opposition. There is a parliamentary session in progress. There are things that are coming up. My mind is on that too, isn't it?
You see, the reason I put this to you, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, okay? But you must also appreciate that there is a flow and there is a sequence of events
Based on the evidence you have and you're relying
which
on.
you have told me. I remind you, you told me that you were very clear in your mind that she
Yes.
was to come clean.
Yes, that was
If it
an
came
answer
up.
to your questions.
Yes. Are you saying it's untrue?
What is untrue?
Your evidence.
Of course not.
Yes, thank you. So she was to come clean the next time it came up in Parliament, right?
She was to take ownership and responsibility for what she had done, yes.
Mr. Singh, I
Yes.
told you don't paraphrase my
Yeah, but you
question.
said come clean, and I'm giving you my answer. If you don't like my answer, I can't help it.
Then you say no. Okay. So
Then I'll
please
say
focus
no.
on my questions. Your understanding on the 3rd of October was that if the matter came up, she would stand up in Parliament and clarify the lie, correct?
Yes,
And you said that in your mind there was no doubt that she understood you, right?
that's right.
And so, at 12:30, when Minister Shanmugam stood up to make his ministerial statement and seek the clarification, in your mind, there was only one outcome,
Absolutely.
and that she would stand up and tell the truth.
That is correct.
But you saw the exchange. She
Yes.
stood up and she repeated the lie several times.
Yes.
And you didn't flinch. You sent a response like this, which is why I put to you, it's a
Yes.
thoroughly underwhelming response.
I disagree.
If
I completely disagree.
If you had an understanding with Ms. Khan that she would have to clarify, speak the truth, and not exacerbate the problem, in your words to the press, not correct the parliamentary record, have to be clarified, cannot leave an untruth on the record. If all that is true, Mr. Singh, your first response to Ms. Khan will not be, I see you later. Keep Claire and I posted.
Mr. Tong,
Yes or no?
no.
So,
This line of questioning, you're fully entitled to make it, of course.
of course I am, and I will.
But
so
I'm
stop.
going to-
Stop. At 12:45, could you have asked to see her?
I could have asked to see her anytime.
Yes, thank you. So the answer is yes, right?
Of course.
As I said, please don't answer my question with a paraphrase.
I'm answering your questions.
Okay? You know, it doesn't really help. We've been here for a while.
I think it helps putting my perspective across.
No, you're here to assist us.
But I'm not suggesting in any way that I'm not assisting you. I'm giving you my evidence because that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So, I'm suggesting to you that there could have been any number of responses by someone in your position on the 4th of October, having just seen what I played out on the video. And those responses would include asking to see Ms. Khan immediately, to ask her, why didn't she comply with your instruction?
I can't disagree with your hypothesis. There could be a number of responses that could have been forthcoming. But if you remember, you talked about timing of this particular intervention by the Minister for Home Affairs. What was happening after this? We had a major debate to get into, a FICA debate. I was speaking on that bill. That's where my mind was. I know that this has to be clarified in Parliament. The lie cannot stand.
Let me.
And so there is time for us to resolve that problem. I'll have to speak to her, confirm with her. Have you actually told your parents? What's the issue? So there was a
Mr.
lot
Singh.
of things to do because she did not tell the truth.
Mr. Singh,
Yes.
let's not quibble with this. We all been in Parliament, we know.
I'm not
It
quibbling.
will take you all of 5 minutes to step out. She steps out and ask her directly.
Ask her what?
Why didn't you do what we said we would agree to do?
There's time to do that.
You see, if your understanding was that she would go and speak the truth and clarify the lie, and we agreed earlier that it has to be done as quickly as possible, then surely you will want to know very quickly why that was not done.
Mr. Tong, like I mentioned earlier,
Say whether you agree or disagree.
I
and then you can-
disagree. And I think I also have already put it on evidence earlier. Maybe you have forgotten.
I don't forget.
Okay, I'm sure you don't, which then begs the question. I did ask you, I did say I was not sure whether she had told her parents yet.
So,
And my suspicion
Okay.
was she hadn't.
stop. So why didn't you say as well, which you can do by message, have you told your parents?
Mr. Tong, there are,
No,
I have
answer
a
my
lot of
question.
that's not my first question to her. When I eventually saw her that
Let me
day,
repeat to you what you said to the press. Of immediate concern to me was that Ms. Raeesah had not previously informed her family members of a sexual assault. It was important that she did so before she could fully address the reasons. So, if that was on your mind, and you seem to tell the press that it was, then I would suggest to you that even if you felt it was so important for you to be in Parliament, sitting in chamber, which I appreciate, you could at the very least have asked her on message, have you told your parents? Why didn't you come clean? What are the reasons for you to repeat the lie?
all these questions eventually did come up, but not after this message.
I would suggest to you that on a matter like this, and let's not dice around with words, because we all
Nobody
know
is
that
dicing with words. I think we're both very
Don't
clear.
interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. On a matter like this, and I said don't dice around with words, we all know how serious it is. Your response is just underwhelming and suggests a very different set of circumstances.
I completely disagree.
It would make no sense if there was an understanding that Ms. Khan would have stood up the moment there was a clarification to tell the truth. Agree?
Could you repeat that question? You're reading from something. Is this one of the documents?
No, I'm looking at your message.
Okay, go ahead.
It would
what's
make
the
no,
question?
your message would make no sense if there had been an understanding between you and Ms. Khan that she would clarify the truth the next time it came out in Parliament.
Disagree.
And you had just spoken with her the day before
Point.
to contemplate that this will come out.
Uh-huh.
And you tell me
How
that
is that connected with this WhatsApp
I'm looking
message?
at your response because your response surprises me, Mr. Singh.
Well, can I be permitted to respond to that? It should not surprise you because we communicate in many different ways. I know what I told the member, Ms. Khan, on the 3rd of October. She is fully aware of my state of mind insofar as how I expect MPs to deal with the truth. And I am, of course, concerned why she did not tell the truth. And all I'm telling her is,
See,
we'll speak after the sitting. Now, it may be
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
Exactly.
Don't accuse me of interrupting you.
exactly. You know, you said you were very clear. 3rd to 7th August, very clear. 1st October email, very clear. 3rd October, very clear. I asked you whether anything else. You said no, these 3 occasions. So, very clear in your mind, this was going to happen.
Yes.
And so, I put it to you that normal human behavior, if I expect something to happen on a serious matter and it doesn't happen, I would react. I would
Okay,
jump.
Let me suggest to you, if I had put that question you suggested I should put, have you told your parents? Would I prefer to have this long story after that on WhatsApp why she didn't tell her parents? Or would I want to tell her, meet me in the office, tell me what's going on?
You
I
are
think the
cap-
answer is obvious.
You are capable of a long story. You look at the bundles next to you, they're all your WhatsApp messages and of several other people as well. So it's not beyond you, Mr. Singh, to put it in a long story. And I'll show you some long messages that you sent to Ms. Khan later on as well.
When I was in Parliament, in the context of a parliamentary sitting where I am going to make a speech on a major bill,
Well, I
I
will,
think we know the truth, Mr. Tong.
I will let the committee judge,
And I hope the committee takes note of this point.
Yes, I'll let the
Were those
committee-
messages made in the context of a parliamentary debate that was going to take place?
Well, you can say that, but I think against this, you must also appreciate that there's a serious matter. There is an expectation on your part. In your view, very clear that she was to come clean if asked. And that didn't happen. Instead, she repeated it several times, made the lie worse, if anything else. So I think we will judge. We'll judge.
I know that even before this sitting took place.
Yes. Now, when did you meet with her then?
We met in the LO office that day itself. I'll have to check my messages when we met. I think it was the afternoon, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember what time. I
How
think
many times did you meet with her
on the 4th, on the day itself.
after this exchange of messages here? How many times?
I reckon I can't remember exactly, but I would believe I definitely spoke to her at least once in the yellow office
Okay.
on this matter in particular.
Look at your messages, the same bundle.
Yes.
At 11:14 p.m., you said, "Hi Ray, meet in LO office."
Sorry, what page am I looking at?
The same page we were on. I'm still in the same message.
Yeah, 11:14. That's right.
11:14 p.m.
Actually, that's right. That would have been at night after the debate, but I believe we met earlier. It may not have been captured in this message because I think Miss Lim brought it to my attention
Okay,
to
so
meet
did
earlier.
did you
Miss
meet
Sylvia
earlier?
Lim.
Yes.
I'll have to check the facts because I do believe that we met before Parliament adjourned, but it's not captured in this WhatsApp chat.
Okay.
It was in the afternoon, and I really, I don't know what other evidence I can bring to bear, but Miss Lim may have a message asking to meet. I'm not sure.
So you can't tell me now whether you met her once, twice, or 3 times on that day.
Definitely, I met her that day to discuss this matter, but whether it was once or twice, I'm not so sure now.
Now, when you met with her, did you tell her we had an understanding? Why didn't you come clean?
No,
You didn't tell her that.
no, there was no understanding. No, there was no understanding I beg your pardon, there was no understanding in that sense. There was an answer, there was an expectation that she should take ownership and responsibility of the issue. That was an understanding.
Mr.
That was
Singh,
the understanding. I beg your
again,
pardon.
don't dice with words. Take ownership and responsibility of the issue can only mean tell the truth.
No, I'm not denying that, yes.
Right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
let's just keep to
Absolutely,
telling the truth.
yes,
So there was an understanding that she would come and tell the truth.
yes.
Yes. So when you met with her, and at whatever time it was, and it appears it was at 11:15 p.m. at least on that occasion.
I don't believe so, Mr. Tong. I'm trying to recall because I'm quite sure we also met
Well, you can't
earlier.
recall, but I do have.
But
at
definitely
least on this.
on the face of the messages, yes, after Parliament adjourned.
This, by the way, was not when Parliament adjourned.
What time did it adjourn that day?
We are past this.
Okay.
If you like, I can show you the record.
There could have been a break. I don't know. I don't
No.
know.
I'll show you the video if you like, but let me put to you that at 11:15 p.m. you did leave Parliament chamber. I have it on video, and Parliament was still going on.
Sure. But
So-
I believe I met up with her earlier
So,
also.
no, the point is, so much for not stepping out when Parliament is in session, Mr. Singh.
I beg your pardon? What's the relevance
So
of that?
much for not wanting to step out whilst Parliament is in session, because you left at 11:15 p.m.
Right.
whilst Parliament was in session.
Where are you leading with this?
I'm putting to you that at 12:45, in answer to my question earlier as to why you couldn't have asked to see her straight away, you said Parliament was sitting.
Mr. Tong, but you conveniently forget that my FICA speech is over. The debate, I've already made my speech. My focus is now
Mr.
Different.
Singh, at 12:45, as we saw earlier, Mr. Leong Man Wai had stood up to make an intervention. It was not a FICA debate.
No,
Yet.
thereafter, I haven't made my speech yet, Mr. Tong. I think you are now dicing around the issue. You
No,
know
I'm not.
exactly what is happening and what your state of mind would be when, for example, you have to present a bill. Of course, your mind is on your bill. You're moving a bill in Parliament. You want to focus on that because you know members are going to ask you questions about it.
So let me come back to what's germane, okay?
Please do.
Did you tell Ms. Khan when you met her that we just met yesterday, we spoke, this is what I thought you would do, why didn't you do it?
No. Would you like me to tell you what I told her?
No, I will suggest to you that you didn't do that because telling the truth was not your understanding, correct?
Say that again?
For Ms. Khan to come to Parliament to tell the truth was not your understanding.
Absolutely disagree.
Yes, I thought you would.
Absolutely.
So tell me one good reason why, after she stood up and repeated her lies, contrary to what you expected her to do, you did not tell her when you met her or ask her, why didn't she clarify and tell the truth? Give me one good reason.
I will tell you what happened.
No.
I will not give you a good reason. I'll tell you exactly what happened, because
Singh,
it's important
please answer my question. Give
what
me,
the
give
evidence
me, give
was.
Give me the reason, and then you can elaborate.
She came to the yellow office. She again was in a distraught state. And I said, what have you done? And then she looks up at me with this dazed look in her eyes and says, perhaps there's another way. That is to tell the truth. And I look at her and I said, but look at the choice you've made. You've made your choice. And from that moment, and then of course she completely starts to break down. And I say, anyway, good, we're going to talk about this, which is this point she's making about honesty. That was it.
You see, on your own account, she came to you and said, your own words, huh? And then she looked up at me with this dazed look in her eyes and says, perhaps there's another way. That is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Your evidence, Mr.
Absolutely,
Singh,
because that's the truth.
You
I stand by
this.
this.
Perhaps there's another way. That is to tell the truth.
Yes.
That means the other way is to lie.
That must have been her thinking of the matter. But I would not come up to this committee. I've taken an oath to tell the truth. This is what she said.
Please do.
She said that. And that's exactly what she said, because I remember it.
So at the very least, your takeaway from this discussion must be that she's now prepared to tell the truth, even if she wasn't before, right?
She should have been very clear what the truth
Yes or
was.
no?
She would have.
No. Yet, please answer my question.
I beg your pardon. I apologize. Please repeat the question.
I said, at the very least, based on your account of the conversation, your takeaway must be that at that stage she was prepared to tell the truth, even if she wasn't previously, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So did you tell her, then let's prepare to tell the truth the next day, on the 5th of October, when Parliament was still sitting?
No, I did not.
Why not?
My thinking at that time was she had not cleared this with her parents yet.
Did you ask her?
No, I did not ask her. But I was
So-
quite sure, because if she had told her parents, she would have just told the truth right there and then.
So you see, you tell the press that it was of immediate concern to you,
Yes.
that her father was aware. First,
Sorry, did I tell the press that?
yes, that had
That her
not
father-
previously informed her family members.
Right. And so it was clear that
which
she hadn't
includes-
to me.
Which includes her father, right?
Of course. And it was clear she hadn't
And she
told.
does not come and tell the truth. And she tells you now, on your case, that the next day, on that day, I'm prepared to tell the truth. Why didn't you say, come and do it the next day?
She didn't say I'm prepared to tell the truth.
She said, perhaps there's another way, and that is
Yes.
to tell the truth.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I told her, I said, good, let's talk about this.
No, you see, again, Mr. Singh, you are... You must appreciate what you've been saying. Put it together.
I have.
You've been concerned that she must tell her family members first before she comes clean in Parliament.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She doesn't come clean in Parliament on the 4th of October.
Yes.
But there's a sitting the next day. In fact, just a
Yes.
few hours after you meet
Yes.
with her,
Yes.
if I believe the 11 p.m.
Right.
discussion. At that stage, wouldn't it have been the normal, reasonable, and I would say proper thing to do? To take steps to have her tell the truth the very next day?
My answer is no.
Yes or no?
No. And I'll explain why, if I may be permitted to.
You can explain, but let me finish this line.
Yes.
And if you felt that there was any impediment, such as, in your words, something of immediate concern to you, whether her family members were aware, the natural thing for you to do on the 4th of October when you met her would be to ask, are your family members now aware? But you didn't ask.
I did not ask, that's right. And there's a reason for that. She had 2 whole months to speak to her family members prior to the sitting on the 4th of October. And in my mind, the only reason why she did not come out with the truth was that she hadn't closed the loop with them. Now, if she has trouble closing the loop after 2 whole months, I have no confidence she can settle this issue in one day.
How-
And let me finish. And this session finishes very late at night. We've got only the morning the next day to settle the issue with her parents, who I'm sure would want to speak to me about it, as they did, and I said, no, this is something for Raeesah to do, that happens later. But it's very clear in my mind, because I know that by then I would have understood that she actually didn't tell her parents. She had not confronted her parents with this. Let me finish. She had not confronted her parents with the issue, and that because of that, she does not want to tell the truth. That was the only reason in my mind.
Mr. Singh, with respect, I think that's, you see, you were confronting Ms. Khan on the 4th of October. The most important issue for you, precondition even for you, for her to come to Parliament to tell the truth, was whether her family members were aware or not. And you had her in front of you, and you don't ask her that question, and yet you come to this proceedings now, and you say, well, it must have been that her family members were not aware.
That's my evidence.
But I would suggest to you that that's quite incredible.
That is incredible to you, but like I said, this is how it happened, and I am telling you exactly how it happened.
And I'm telling you that how this happened is incredible, because the only barrier, as you say, to her coming clean in Parliament to tell the truth was whether her family members were aware. You met with her on the 4th of October. You just heard her.
3rd of October.
4th of October.
I didn't.
You're
talking about the meeting at the LO office, yes?
Yes. On the 4th of October, after she had repeated her lies, and you don't ask her whether her family is aware?
I think I know her family members are not aware.
No.
And events proved me right.
Mr. Singh.
Events proved me right, because when on the 12th of October, when I see her for the first time, to tell her after this, look,
we'll get there. Please, don't interrupt.
But it's important, because you're making a case without knowing what had actually happened.
No, Mr. Singh.
And you can't do that. You can't make a case to me without knowing the whole chronology of what had happened.
The reason why 12th October is irrelevant for my line of inquiry, let me explain to you, is
Please,
because that was not operative on your state of mind at that occasion on the 4th of October, okay?
What was not operative?
What you learned on the 12th of October cannot be imputed to your state of mind on the 4th of October.
No, that's obvious.
You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So on the 4th of October, let's keep to that. You had not had any other conversation on the 12th of October yet.
That's
Are we clear on this?
That's logical.
Yes, thank you. So on the 4th of October, you have no direct basis for knowing if your most immediate concern, i.e. whether her family was aware, was met or not.
I think it's a very reasonable inference for me to make.
No, listen to me.
Go ahead.
You have no direct evidence of that. Agree?
Direct evidence? No, absolutely not. Of course not.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you had the opportunity to meet with her maybe once, probably once, twice maybe, to ask her that question, and you failed to ask her that question, right?
I did not ask her that question, correct, because I knew what the answer was.
Let me put to you that I think that is just incredible. That the very reason which you believe stopped her from telling the truth in Parliament, you had her in front of you. You could have easily verified with her if her member's family was aware. She was telling you now on your case, maybe I should tell the truth. She could have done it tomorrow, the very next day on the 5th of October. And if you had verified that the family was aware, that was certainly possible. And so in that context, Mr. Singh, I put it to you again, and help me please to understand why this played out in the way it did. Why didn't you just ask her a direct question? Is your family aware?
Because
if they are, and if they are, then it clears the hurdles, as far as you say, for her to come clean in Parliament.
I had only one reason in my mind why I did not stand up on the 4th of October. Beyond,
Mr. Singh,
yes,
Mr. Singh,
but I'm coming to your point.
That's not my question. And
I know, but
I'm focused on your meeting with Ms. Khan.
I am entitled to put those circumstances, because you're asking me a question of why I didn't do something. I can't answer a counterfactual. So you have to understand the circumstances which led me to that point. May I be permitted to proceed,
All right.
Chairman?
Please do.
So You are asking me a counterfactual. Why didn't I do something? And I'm suggesting to you that I would have expected her, there was no inhibition for her to just tell the truth if she had already cleared that with her family. The only reason in my mind she did not tell the truth on the 4th was because she had not told the family the truth.
But that would have been a supposition on your part on the 4th,
It would have been a very reasonable supposition.
But a supposition, right?
Well, let me suggest something else.
No, answer my question, please.
What's, I beg your pardon?
A
Ask the question
supposition,
again.
right?
What was the supposition? I am sorry, I broke your chain of thought, but if you want to look at the record, please put the question to me again.
Please don't paraphrase, and maybe Mr. Chairman can give a direction. Please don't paraphrase my question when you answer it, because it makes it very difficult for the transcribers, and it makes it very difficult to follow the evidence.
I just think
So
it makes
please,
it difficult for you, but I don't think so.
No.
But anyway, please ask the question. I've committed to being as cooperative as I can be.
Thank you, and I will try to help you along. Okay, you said,
It's the supposition that you put to me.
yes, you said that would be a supposition on your part, because you said there would have been no inhibition on her part. But I would have expected there was no inhibition for her to tell the truth. And I said, but that would be a supposition on your part. And you said a reasonable supposition. But I said a supposition, right? Your answer?
I mean, I've made it clear the answer is on record already.
Just
It
yes,
would be a
right?
reasonable supposition.
The answer is it is a supposition, right?
Yes, based on facts of what she would be aware
And
of.
you would have been very easily able to confirm that supposition one way or another, right? Directly with Ms.
Again,
Khan.
it's a counterfactual, but yes.
Yes, and
Yes. I mean,
See-
there could be a number of things I could have said and done. I mean, we can write a whole list of them out. But my state of mind at that point, as I've already put on evidence, was that she had not told her parents yet, because that would have been the only thing which prevented her from telling the truth in the first place.
let me go back to her words to you. Perhaps there's another way, that is to tell the truth. Mr. Singh, that is very telling as to her state of mind,
Yes.
right? It's very telling because if these were her words, and that's your evidence, she was under an impression, and you might say misapprehension, but she was certainly under an impression that she was not to tell the truth. And that's why some other way is to tell the truth, right?
You can.
That's a reasonable way of interpreting what she said to you, right?
Well, I have another way of interpreting it.
No, Mr. Singh.
Yes. No, it's not. Then my answer is no.
You see, when she comes to you, she's just told the truth, just repeated her lie in Parliament, made it worse for herself. She comes to the leader of the opposition, the leader of her party, and says, perhaps there's another way, and that is to tell the truth.
She was
In that,
okay, sorry.
let me finish. In that context, Mr. Singh, I think one understands now that she was thinking that she was to lie. And perhaps now she's telling you perhaps one other way, Mr. Singh, is to come clean, tell the truth.
Let me suggest a
Correct?
different, wrong. No, I say no. Let me suggest another,
But before you do that, and I will let you do that,
yes.
you stand by this. She said
No,
this to you, right?
absolutely she did. Because I remember this. She was in a dazed state. She said that. And I think it impressed on her finally, you are an MP who's taken an oath. You know what's the right thing to do. You've got rules of prudence that have been signed by your Secretary General on how an MP behaves. You know what your Secretary General, how your Secretary General got the truth out of you. You should take ownership and responsibility. And I think she was verbalizing what she should have done in the first place.
I know, but you see, you may say that, but and we know all these rules of prudence, and I understand what they say. But here we have an episode where, again, in context, okay?
Sure.
Which is important for this tribunal to look at things in context and to appreciate conduct in the context of when it occurs,
Yes.
and also to draw inferences from what is done subsequently.
No, I understand.
Okay. I think as a lawyer, you understand.
No,
where
I
I'm
absolutely
coming from.
understand.
So here is an MP who has told an untruth. You came down hard on her, right? You probed her on the third,
Yes.
fourth, fifth,
Yes. Yes.
sixth,
Yes.
seventh. She confessed to you.
Yes.
8, she told
Yes.
2 other senior party leaders.
Yes.
And in your words, several other occasions, 1st October, 3rd October, you made it clear to her. And she was...
First, I beg your pardon. 1st October, it was to
Your
all the
email.
MPs. It was a
Yes,
general
okay.
the email. Yeah.
So this was at least your evidence of her state of mind, that she was going to come and tell the truth.
I would that. Yes. Yes.
She goes to Parliament and she's questioned by Minister Shanmugam.
Yes.
I think we all know what that means.
Yes. Now, what does that mean? It means what it means.
That means
She's
it
being
takes
questioned.
Well, that means that MHA is very concerned. It takes it very seriously, wants to get to the bottom of this.
Right?
So she then says, I repeat my lies in Parliament.
She doesn't say that.
She repeats the lies in Parliament
Right.
in front of you.
Yes. In front of the whole House.
Well, you and 2 others in the whole House were the only ones who knew they were
Right.
lies.
Right.
So, let's be clear about that.
No, I think we know that. We established that already.
She then comes to you, you say in tatters, crying,
Yes.
and she says,
She was in a daze when she made that remark. Perhaps there's another way.
okay,
That's
so,
honesty.
but she comes to you, you've summoned her, I mean, at least based on what we see
Sure.
in this, you've summoned her, and she says to you, perhaps there's another way, that is to tell the truth.
Yes. She said, perhaps there's another way. That's honesty.
No, your words, perhaps there's another way, that is to tell the truth.
I think you should. I look at the first time I deliver my evidence.
This is the
If
first
I-
time.
If I'm not wrong, and that is to tell the truth. She uses the word honesty.
Mr. Singh,
But-
I
but-
asked
but-
you several times whether you stand by
Yes.
this, you confirm. So I'm reading from your
Fine.
own words, okay?
That's right.
Perhaps there's another way, that is, tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So, someone coming to you like this,
Mm-hmm.
in her state of mind, it would be reasonable to suppose that she was not required to tell the truth by you, and now coming to you and saying, this is not working, perhaps there's another way, and let's now tell the truth.
I
Right?
disagree.
And that, in fact, would be entirely consistent with the evidence that Ms. Khan gave.
I'm not surprised that she gave that evidence.
You see, Ms. Khan gave evidence that you met her in August. The instruction was to not raise it if not pressed. You met her again.
So,
Let me finish.
please finish.
We can get to
No,
August.
sure. Please
okay?
finish.
So I'll hear
I
you.
stopped myself because I knew I was.
I
gonna
will hear
interrupt
you. I will definitely give you an opportunity.
Yeah.
But again, on the 3rd, we heard her evidence. I know you disagree, but her evidence was, you told her,
Yeah.
stick to the narrative, and I'm paraphrasing, stick to the narrative, I won't judge you. And her interpretation of that was, keep to the lie, you won't judge her. She goes to Parliament, keeps to the lie, gets questioned repeatedly by Minister Shanmugam, is obviously worried as a result of that. Then comes to you and says, Mr. Singh, perhaps there's another way, and that is to tell the truth. This is completely consistent with her state of mind as being one where she was not required to tell the truth. But she's now coming to you on the 4th of October in the aftermath of that exchange and telling you, perhaps this way is not working. Let's find another way, which is to tell the truth. You
I
agree?
disagree. I
You disagree?
disagree. The evidence that I gave of what she told me was what it was. That's what she said. Perhaps there's another way. And that is honesty, to tell the truth. And you have completely missed out my reaction to that. I was very upset with that. And I said, but look at the choice you've made. And in my point of view, the only reason why she had not told the truth was because she had not squared away the fact that her parents did not know what had happened, and in my point of view, I was actually quite relieved to hear that, to be honest, because that means she would have had to come out and take that path. Now, how she would do it is a different question, but she would have had to make a statement in Parliament. In my assessment, I think you went down this line to say, why not the next day? In my point of view, why not on the 5th of October? And in my view, there was no way from midnight or thereabouts until the next morning, she would have been able to come up with the statement, close the issue with her parents, and make that personal explanation in Parliament. That's my assessment. You can criticize that assessment. You can say it's not logical and so forth, whatever theory you want to advance, but that's my evidence.
Well, I'm trying to be, I'm open to the facts. I want to understand what it is, and I'm putting to you as openly as I can.
No, I understand.
And I'm surprised when you say I was relieved to hear that, because that means she would now have to come out and take that path. That path means the path of honesty.
Because she's already chosen the path a WPMP should never go on.
No, but why would you be relieved if your understanding just the day before, in fact, just minutes before she stood up to speak, was that she would tell the truth anyway?
Because
what's there to be relieved about?
I'm relieved because she has decided to continue lying. And this is the first time I'm hearing from her that I'm going down a truthful path.
But, well, no. You see, when she comes to you and says to you, Mr. Singh, perhaps there's another way, that is to tell the truth. If that had been, if your understanding was that she was supposed to have done that anyway,
yes,
a reaction of relief is far from a natural reaction.
No,
let me finish. Let me finish.
You've missed out the earlier thing I said. Okay, but go ahead.
If I had understood her to be going to Parliament to clarify it and speak the truth, and she doesn't do that, and she comes to you now and says, perhaps there's another way, that is to tell the truth.
Yes.
My first reaction would not be one of relief, Mr. Singh.
Because you
My
don't know
first reaction would be one of, but we had an understanding, and I thought we had an understanding.
My first
You're going to do that.
reaction was, but you made your choice.
No,
by
Mr.
what you have said, and that's on the evidence.
Mr. Singh, you see.
And then later on I said, actually, I'm relieved to hear that because this is the first time I know that you want to own what you've done in Parliament, something that you have not done.
See, if she comes, let's take your case at face value on what you just say. If she says this to you, there's another way, tell the truth, you are relieved. Now
No, I'm not relieved. You've missed out an important intervention I made.
Okay, you said the only reason she had not told the truth was because she hadn't squared away the fact that the parents did not know. I was quite relieved to hear that.
No, before that, the first time I raised this anecdote to the committee as to what happened in my office on the 4th.
No, that's not.
That's too far back.
No, that's
it's
not
difficult
germane
to
to
scroll
this
back. No, it's
episode.
very germane to it because your line of
listen.
questioning is in that direction.
No, focus on my question, okay? You had an understanding with her, at least your understanding, okay?
Thank you.
That she would tell the truth. And I asked you earlier, about an hour and a half earlier, whether you were clear. You said yes. Any doubts? No doubts. Very clear, that's what she was supposed to do. She comes to Parliament and does the complete opposite, which is to lie. Later that evening, she comes to you and tells you, Mr. Singh, perhaps there's another way. That is to tell the truth.
She doesn't tell that to me directly. She's in a daze. I don't know what she's thinking, but she's saying that.
Mr. Singh, try.
I said I
Please
did put
don't try to
put it on the
qualify your
evidence.
evidence.
No, I'm not qualifying. I beg your pardon. I'm not qualifying
Stand
it.
by it, huh?
I stand by it.
Okay.
She was in a daze. She said that. She did say that, and I'm
So-
not withdrawing any bit of the evidence I've given.
So let's focus on the words.
Go ahead.
Perhaps there's another way. That is
Yes.
to tell the truth.
Right.
Surely, if you heard that, your immediate reaction would be, but that's what you were supposed to do, Ms. Khan.
And I believe it is on the evidence. I said that thereafter. But look at the choice you've made. You've made your choice.
But you didn't
that
say,
was
no, you didn't say you were supposed to do that, Ms. Khan.
Look, I can only
You can look
I
at the
can only
evidence.
narrate what I remember clearly I said. I mean, if you think I carry a recorder with me exactly word for word, I don't, but I can only communicate on oath what I shared with her. And
You can
and
remember what's important and what's material. And
I think this is what is
in the
material.
context of this episode, what's important and material is that if you genuinely had an understanding with her that she would go and tell the truth.
Yes.
And she didn't tell the truth.
Yes.
And she came to you with a statement like this. Perhaps
Yes.
there's another way, that is to tell the truth.
Yes.
It would have been top of your mind to
Yes.
tell her.
Yes.
But you were supposed to tell the truth.
Again, that
We had discussed it
sorry.
yesterday.
Uh,
And I gave you the assurance that I will not judge you.
I think it's.
That would have been a natural reaction for someone in your position.
I think it's
Agree?
easy to stitch this narrative given these pieces of evidence. But at that point in time, I've given you the evidence of what happened, and I'm telling you that in my mind, this lady, Ms. Khan, had not squared this issue away with her parents,
But you didn't
and
ask
she
her that.
would have to. I knew, because if she had, there would be no reason why she would continue to lie.
But
That's my
At the
evidence.
same time, she's also coming to you to say that on your case, she's now prepared to tell the truth.
She's saying, and yes, and that's,
So-
I'm relieved about that because
Yes.
this is the first time I hear it from her.
So there are, from this statement, there are a couple of options for someone in your position. Let me suggest them to you.
Go ahead.
Number one would be to say, since you're now prepared to tell the truth, the natural supposition is, I've told my parents. That's one, which means your precondition to coming clean is satisfied. Number two, have you told your parents? If not, tell them now. Because what you've just done on the 4th of October to perpetuate the lie, to repeat it, has made it worse. So now, time is of the essence. In your words earlier, that decision has been taken out of her hands. Option two. Option three is to say, your parents may not have been told yet, and you will find that out, but given what you have done, it is now important to at least clarify the record and go and tell Mr. Speaker, or perhaps in Parliament, that that anecdote was false. And you can leave the explanation concerning the sexual assault aside. There could have been any of these options. Agree?
Disagree?
These options are possible, right?
Anything is possible.
Mr. Singh, please don't be,
I'm answering the question.
Ble-
Tell
no.
me where I don't answer you.
answer my question.
Yes.
These three options, at least, would have been possible options, right?
To the extent that anything would have been possible, yes.
No, these are all reasonably possible options, right?
Not in this particular
You see-
context, not in this episode. That's my evidence.
If
I mean, you may
you're-
not accept it, but that's my
Okay.
evidence.
If your interest is to be open, transparent, come clean, honest, then these would have been options you would reasonably consider.
Yes, and the very
Yes.
fact that I was
Wait.
relieved
No, yes
to
or no?
some extent.
Answer my question.
Yes.
Yes.
What is your
So,
question?
If,
Is it about the three options?
Yes, I said if your intention is to be open, transparent, come clean, honest, then these would have been options that you would reasonably consider, correct? You said yes,
No. I did,
on the record.
put the question to me again. I will correct the record.
Well, you said yes, and the
Well,
very
put
fact
it again.
was
I will
relieved.
correct the record.
I said if your intention is to be open, transparent, come clean, honest, then these would have been options that you would reasonably consider.
And I said to the extent that anything is possible,
No.
those would be reasonable. I mean, you can.
Those are reasonable options to
They could-
consider, right?
Well, if you
Mr. Singh.
divorce my position, if you ask me on hindsight, would that have been possible? I would say anything would have been possible, but I can only come back to the point.
Mr. Singh, it's not helpful to say anything is possible.
No,
Okay,
I
think you know that.
I'm giving the evidence, Mr. Tong,
No,
and
but-
I'm going to give the evidence which
No.
I believe is the evidence that is accurate.
So answer my questions, okay? So don't give the evidence that anything is possible, because I think you appreciate that's just being unhelpful.
No, I believe I've given the context as to why I believed she had not told her parents yet. That was my conclusion.
Let
I
me,
made that conclusion. If you're quibbling
Let me-
with
Mr.
the
Singh.
fact that I should not have made that conclusion,
No, Mr. Singh.
that is entirely your evidence, not mine.
You heard my options.
Right?
My options
Right.
include the possibility that she has not yet told her parents.
Sir, those are your options.
Yes,
not
but they
mine.
include the possibility that she has not told her parents, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So they take into account the concerns that you have. And I'm saying that even with those concerns that you have, it would have been possible to take one of those options, and the truth would have come out earlier in Parliament. Agree?
Disagree. the option, as far as I was concerned, by the evidence that she gave, what she said at the LO's office was, there's another path, perhaps there's another path to tell the truth, honesty. And the way I read it was, okay, now you're going to have to prepare a personal statement. You're going to have to put the record right in Parliament.
Yes,
That's all I took from it.
We know what happened later.
And,
but
of course, my view was, I cannot understand why you've let this drag. I've given you fair warning that something may come out. I've told you also to take
Mr.
ownership
Singh,
and responsibility.
Stop, because this was not what you said to her that night.
What do you mean?
Fair warning.
No. I'm not saying I said that to her on the 3rd.
Okay, let's be clear.
Let's make that evidence clear.
Okay,
I did
so
not say that.
The last part of what you said, you didn't say to her on the 4th,
Absolutely,
right?
not on that night.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think we can have that on. I'm talking about the 3rd of October when I see her at her house. I tell her you have to take ownership and responsibility for what you've done.
And ownership and responsibility means
To tell the truth. Absolutely, exactly. And thereafter then, on the 4th, she says in a dazed sort of state, perhaps there's another way. And that is honesty.
Yes, but you see,
And I agree with that, because that's the only way. It's not another way.
but
If you take into account my behavior towards her, if you take into account how WP MPs are expected to tell the truth in Parliament, there was only one way.
so you said she came to you. I'm reading from your evidence, page 124, line 7. As far as I was
I don't
concerned-
have that in front of me, so.
That's why I'm reading it to you.
Yeah.
As far as I was concerned by the evidence that she gave, what she said at the LO's office was, there's another path. Perhaps there's another path to tell the truth.
Yes.
Honesty.
Yes.
You see, why would she think that telling the truth was another path?
You have to ask her. I actually have.
I'm asking you because
Yeah.
you have developed a very clear understanding with her.
Yes.
But she's coming to you after she has told a lie to
Right.
come and tell you that another path is to tell the truth.
Perhaps
Which means that the
because-
path she was on was
Right.
not to tell the truth, right?
Because
Yes
it
or no?
all starts, no, because it all starts from the very first SMS she sends and what her state of mind is. An SMS I did not see until the interim report came out, that there's this narrative to take a lie to the grave, something which was never brought to my attention by low paying and Mr. Yudhishthra Nathan, something that if was sent to Sylvia or Faisal was also never brought to my attention.
Mr. Singh.
And I think she is laboring under that
I-
state of mind.
I think now you are speculating.
No, I'm telling you what I am saying. I mean, you've asked me speculative questions, what could have happened, what was suggested. So I think I'm entitled to tell you what I think is the state of affairs here.
So you think, let me take you on your last evidence.
Yes.
You think that this was a very elaborate plan, beginning from the 8th of August, when Ms. Khan sent that message to Mr. Nathan and Ms. Low, in contemplation of the day when she would have been expelled or sacked from the party,
That's not my
facing
evidence.
proceedings,
No.
and then be
I'm not
able to
saying that.
use that evidence
No.
that she so carefully put in place in August to come and say that was her state of mind.
No,
Is that
it
your evidence?
No, that's not my evidence.
Because
my
it can't be,
evidence,
right?
My evidence very simply is, if we're talking about country over party, country over party, I would have fully expected that SMS to be given to me, or if for some reason you're uncomfortable with me, go to the CEC with it. You are two senior cadre members. Tell the CEC we've got a rogue SG who's telling us lie, who's telling our MP to lie.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I believe they should have done.
Well, we will
But
get.
that did not
we will
come to me at all.
Mr.
I did
Singh,
not even know of it.
We will get there, and I.
And this is important because of the point you are making
No,
of her state of mind. Perhaps there's another way, the truth.
Mr. Singh,
We have to interrogate what was her takeaway from the
Oh.
meeting of the 8th.
we did, and I put it to you.
Yes, put it to me.
So you see, Mr. Singh, what the senior cadre members, as you call them, thought
Yes,
and said to you,
yes.
both when you were a member of the DP and
Member of the what, sorry?
of the disciplinary panel,
Right.
and privately in messages to you, we will get to. We will
Sure.
see what they said.
Absolutely.
But I'm back to where we are on the 4th night,
Yes.
okay, or the meeting you had at the LO's office. One reason why she said the words, perhaps there's another way, that is to tell the truth, would be she was on a different path, a path of continuing with the falsehood, or in her words, continuing with her narrative. But now that she's been questioned quite robustly by the minister, She's now coming to you and saying that path isn't working. Perhaps there's another way. It's a fair supposition.
It's a fair supposition, but it has
her
to
part.
presuppose. It has
On
to
her part.
presuppose on her part.
Yes.
On her part. Who put her on that path?
Fair supposition on her part.
On her part. On her part.
Yes. So
Given what she has said, not what I have said.
yes, what she has said.
Yeah, I cannot speak for her, but if she says, no, I was told to continue a narrative to lie, no, on the 3rd of October, I will not judge you, that there would be no, that the party had given her some direction to take this lie to the grave, ooh, I mean, that's her supposition.
Yes, but you see,
Whether it's fair, oh, good God.
okay, we will make a judgment of that, and I'm asking you to help us make a judgment on that, all right? And I can tell you, there's an open mind on this. What troubles me, and to be very open with
Go ahead.
what's on my mind, is that everything that we have seen, if you believe Ms. Khan's account, from August through to October 3rd, and now this evening in your office, at the LO's office, where she says, perhaps there's another way. If you believe Ms. Khan's account and take Ms. Khan's account at face value, everything that has happened is consistent with that account. Would you not agree?
I disagree.
Why would you disagree? Because if she's been told to take it to the grave, not say anything, don't raise it if not asked, isn't that what happened?
What about what I told her on the 3rd of October, to take ownership and responsibility?
Yes, and you also said you will not judge her.
Yes, if you take ownership and responsibility, you won't be judged if you take
So
responsibility
we-
and ownership.
I showed you her account and her takeaway of that meeting.
Right.
So I'm saying to you,
Right.
take it on her account.
I can't take it on her account because her account is not
No,
truthful.
I'm asking you to help us because we have to
I
make
can't
a
help
find.
you there. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tong. I cannot help you
No,
explain
Mr.
what
Singh.
Ms. Khan's state of mind was.
Mr. Singh, it's a reasonable.
Please
Question.
put it to me. I'll try and answer it if I can.
So we take Ms. Khan's account as the parameters. I know you don't agree with it, and with on that caveat, okay?
Yes,
You disagree with it,
yes,
and I think you will say you disagree with it vehemently. Fine.
yes.
Okay, but on that caveat, on her account, now you look at the events that took place over the last 3 months, beginning from August all the way through to 1st November.
Yes.
Okay, just take that period.
Sure.
She says she was told to bury it, take the information to the grave. I know you disagree, but she says that, right?
And she didn't share this with anyone.
I know.
At least
Fair enough. I agree.
leadership.
I have no reason.
Neither did Yudish and Peng.
At this point in time, I have no reason to disagree with that, okay? On the 3rd of October, there was another meeting with you. We've also seen her account.
Yes.
Her account was that she was told by you to continue with the narrative in August and you won't judge her.
That's her account.
Okay, that's her account. So I'm asking you to take her account at face value. Based on this account, what happened in the last 3 months leading up to this occasion was consistent, isn't it?
No, it's inconsistent. And I'll explain why.
It must be consistent because if she was told, if indeed she was told on the 8th of August to take the information to the grave and not clarified if not pressed, it explains why there's just been no activity about clarifying it all the way through August and September, all the way until 1st October, an email by you to the whole party, and 3rd October...
Not to the whole party.
To all your MPs, I think.
MPs.
3rd October to when you met with her at her home.
I disagree.
All of what she did or didn't do would be consistent with that.
No, it would not be because there would have been...
I'll let you explain later.
Yes, go ahead.
But follow my train of thought.
No, I apologize if I cut you off, but yeah.
And what she said in Parliament would also be consistent with that narrative. With
What
her
did she say
account.
when?
In Parliament on the 4th of October.
Okay.
You saw the exchange earlier,
Yes.
continued with the narrative, i.e. kept up with the lie that she told in August that there was such a case, there was such an incident at the police station. And she continued with that. So I'm saying to you that just taking her account at face value, would you not accept that everything that has happened is completely consistent with her accounts on the 8th of August and on the 3rd of October as to what you, and in the case of 8th August, together with Ms. Lim and Mr. Manap, Faisal, and on the 3rd of October, with you alone, is completely consistent with her account of what happened, right?
To the extent, I will answer this question.
Yes or no?
I'm not going to, it's a qualified yes. It's a qualified yes because that account starts from a reading of an understanding, a highly untruthful understanding of the meeting of the 8th, that there is a narrative to be told and there is a lie that has to be taken to the grave. Now, when you start with that presupposition and you don't clarify it at any point within 2 months to the leadership or to me or to anyone, I mean, you've got your own GRC MPs, there are so many people that you can speak to and say, look, I'm being told to cover this lie, I can't deal with it. I have to tell someone. Nothing of this sort happens. I would suggest it never happened because that was never communicated to her.
Okay.
And so if you follow a flawed, I'm not saying this is your analysis that it's flawed, but if you followed a flawed reading of her interpretation as to what transpired up to the 1st of November, then there's nothing for me to clarify or to even suggest, because to me, you've been told very clearly something can come up. You are aware of our code. You are aware of our rules of prudence. You know what an MP is supposed to do. You know what behavior your SG displays towards you, at least when you were pressed for the truth. And your conclusion is, I am supposed to continue a lie? I think that's highly,
Okay, I understand
doubtful and
your
ridiculous.
caveat. I understand your call. You said yes to my
A qualified yes.
question later, my question earlier, and you said qualified yes, and you've now explained why you qualified
Yes.
it. So you are saying the qualification rests with her misapprehension of what happened on the 8th of August.
Not misapprehension, her total untruth of what happened on the 8th.
So if I were to say to you, assume for the moment that her account is true,
I can't even do that. I'm so sorry. I can't help you. I can't even do that.
you would agree that if we assume her account was true, that would remove the qualification, right? If we assume.
Mr. Tong, I know where,
help
I know
us
where you're
with it.
going with this.
No, help us with it, because
I think you can help yourself with it.
No.
Because I think you've really dealt with it in some way, but,
No, Mr.
which is why
Singh,
you're asking me.
I-
I'm not playing the fool here. Don't get me wrong. But if
okay,
you're
look.
asking me to confirm a supposition,
No,
a train of
I'm not-
thought that Ms. Khan has, which I know
stop.
to be untrue,
I'm not asking you
I
to
can't agree with it.
Stop, Mr. Singh. I'm not asking you to confirm a supposition. I'm asking you to assume that her account is true.
I cannot
And
even do that. I
No.
cannot even make that assumption because I know for a fact it's not true.
Yes, but if you assume it is true,
I'm
walk
not
through
going
it
to do
with
that,
me.
Mr. Tong.
You
I
see,
apologize,
no.
Mr. Chair. In this part of the inquiry,
From my perspective, we are trying to understand a few different narratives, one of which you're sharing, from your perspective, your evidence as to what has happened, and that's one account. We have heard from Ms. Raeesah Khan and a few of associates, and some of the messages were shared contemporaneously as things evolve, and that's another possible narrative, which you believe is untrue. So we need to look at the whole train of events as it evolve and to ascertain which may make sense, which doesn't make sense. I think that's the premise on which I think Minister Tong is asking.
with respect, with respect, Chair, Mr. Tong is asking me to assume an assumption.
So
or
what
make
Mr.
an
Tong is
assumption.
asking is this.
And
What Mr. Tong is asking is
I can't make
this.
an assumption based on facts I know are
So-
not true.
But if we assume that that particular recount is true, and that whole series of different events or things that didn't take place took place, would that be a reasonable way to assess that whole chain of events as an assumption? And I can accept, and you've registered a point that you do not believe that to be true. But if,
I know that
from
to
our
be untrue.
perspective, right, we're trying to ascertain what exactly happened, we have a few different narratives evolving. We're trying to ascertain which seems to make sense, which seem to be true. And if this holds true, and if this account is accurate, then would all these series of events kind of make sense? Is it logical? Then there will be another version, which is, for example, as you shared, as what you believe is true, and that will be one train of events. So we are trying to understand, if indeed this is so, would all these things be consistent and would it make sense, or would it not make sense? Would your version of it therefore also make sense or not make sense? And that's where we are. So I think it's to help us understand which line would seem credible, and then that's where we are trying to understand that. So that question, I think on assumption really is on that basis. But we fully accept what you have said, which is, as far as you are concerned, it is untrue, right? But what I think Mr. Tong is asking is, if, from our perspective, assume that what she said and believed to have interpreted was true, would these train of events seem to make sense, which you said a qualified yes, right? So let's get back to that and pursue
Okay, so please answer the question.
No, sorry, go ahead.
On the assumption that Ms. Khan's account is true, would you agree that the steps that, and her account on the 3rd of October as well as the 8th of August are true? Would you agree that the events that took place or didn't take place, as the case may be, leading up to the 4th of October, it would be completely consistent with her account?
I would say no.
It would be completely consistent because the information was not brought up. So the whole of rest of August, we didn't hear anything. In September, we didn't hear anything. There's no discussion. And it might come up again on 4th of October. So you went to see her on the 3rd of October. Remember, Ms. Khan's account was, if not pressed, don't have to clarify. So now you thought on the 3rd, maybe she might be pressed. So it's time to revisit the issue.
Let me,
Hold on.
Sorry.
And then she goes to Parliament and she continues the narrative, which is her account on the 8th of August. And she tells a lie, several lies. And then she comes to your office and say, perhaps there is another way, another path, as you put it. And that is to tell the truth. So explain to me, in the context of this, why you would disagree that on the assumption that Ms. Khan's versions are correct, why would you disagree that everything that has happened is completely consistent?
I would disagree, Mr. Tong, because if indeed we assume from the 8th of August that there is a narrative to lie, I wouldn't see her on the 3rd of October, would I? Because it's already been established. And that's why I disagree. There would have been no reason to see her on the 3rd of October.
I will suggest to you, based on her narrative, that you saw her on the 3rd of October and you wanted to, first of all, share with her your contemplation that the issue might arise, which I think we've gone through earlier. And secondly, I think you chose your words carefully on that occasion. You said, I won't judge you.
Don't forget what I said. That's a fragment of the main thrust of what I was driving at.
Well,
you have, please go ahead.
Well, we heard your evidence earlier, and I'll take it at face value. You said, I won't judge you after a series of other messages to her.
No,
but
not
we've
messages.
Also,
I said something before.
Yes,
I said I will not
whatever
judge you.
conveyed to her, but we've also heard her version of this.
Sure.
I'll put to you this, that in concluding with the phrase, I won't judge you, that phrase is an equivocal phrase. Agree?
In seen as a fragment, yes.
And if you wanted to convey to her that there's no doubt that if it comes up, you will tell the truth, you could have said so in very clear terms.
I believed I was quite clear with her.
You could have said so in clear, direct terms and probably even in writing to make sure that there's absolutely no doubt about it, right?
Like I said, this is similar to your line of questioning in other cases. There are a number of things I could have done, but these are all counterfactuals.
No, I mean, I'm putting to you, we have to understand why it was not done.
Because the verbal message that was communicated to her, in my mind, was very clear.
Well, you see...
And let me put into context that I will not judge you.
Mr. Singh, you are capable of being a lot clearer and a lot more forceful in your communication.
No, absolutely.
And I believe that if you wanted to leave her in no doubt that she was to tell the truth the very next day, you would have been perfectly able to make that absolutely clear.
I would have, I thought that it was very clear what she had to do. You are a Workers' Party MP. We have struggled to get here where we are. And are we going to throw this all away because of this?
Yes, you could
and
have.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to cut you off, so I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
So in my mind, it was crystal clear. Take ownership, take responsibility. What does that mean? Is this another one of those, I don't know what substantiate means?
No, no. You see, A, the words chosen could have been clearer, much clearer. B, it could have been in writing. And you have had no qualms giving her instructions on how she frames her PQs and SQs in writing. You sent her messages on that, right?
Sorry, her PQs and SQs.
Parliamentary questions and supplementary questions.
Context?
Have you not done so?
I mean, I could have, but in what context are you referring
Okay,
to PQs and SQs?
I thought this is a point you would easily agree to. You would have written to her.
No, certainly, Mr. Tong, I would have...
Let me finish.
Sorry, go ahead.
You had, on previous occasions, given her guidance on how she frames her parliamentary questions and her parliamentary responses, right?
I would have... I'm sure there have been parliamentary questions which I thought she had put, which were ridiculous, and she had to put them make sure she knows what she's talking about. I'm sure I would have done that. I had done that.
So you would have had no difficulty writing to her, putting your position down in writing, giving her a clear direction for something like a parliamentary question,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I'm suggesting to you that in this case, all the more so, when a falsehood has been said, you felt it was going to come up, she would have to deal with it, take ownership, like you said, clarify it and be truthful, say something in Parliament that will absolve her of what has happened, take ownership and responsibility, as you say. And it was a very clear and deliberate intention on your part to reinforce that first on the 1st of October in your general email, and again on the 3rd of October where you made an attempt to go to her home to do it. Surely putting it down in writing to leave no room for doubt would have been quite easy, right?
Mr. Tong, I disagree. So my answer is no. I'm going to meet her, and rather than talk about it on WhatsApp, I find it sufficiently important to go and meet her, to tell her to take ownership and responsibility. So I would disagree.
Well, in the context of the severity of the matter, the importance of the matter, this is not an SQ. This is not a speech you might make at an event. Mm-hmm. This is not even a speech that you might make on a bill or on a motion, and that is important. This is a clarification of a lie that has been said by a sitting member of Parliament in Parliament. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, on the record for something close to 2 months. It's a serious matter, right, Mr. Singh?
No, absolutely. It's
yes,
a serious
and
matter.
if my intention as the leader of the party was to ensure that my MP, in the words that you've chosen to, in your press conference, for her to take responsibility, it's for her to do so, for her to own up, because she has the facts and I don't, as you put it, then surely that point must be absolutely clear and reinforced. And one way of doing it, I'm suggesting to you, is to make sure it is in writing, right?
I think a more direct way to do it would be to tell it to her in her face, which is what I did.
And you chose words which
I think were crystal clear.
Could lead to doubt in interpretation, and at least in this case, it was read by Ms. Khan differently from you.
Unfortunately, yes, but I believe if you labor under the presumption that your leadership is telling you to take a lie to the grave, I can see why she read it that way.
But I also suggest to you that, you know what she told you after she told the lies in Parliament on the 4th of October, perhaps there's another way in her words.
I think that's a mea culpa on her part.
That is to tell the truth. I think it's very suggestive of what her frame of mind was when she was in Parliament, which when she was on the other path, which is the path of continuing with the narrative to keep up with the lie she told in August. Wouldn't you agree?
I can't do anything about that, Mr. Tong. What words she said when she narrated her state of mind to me on the 4th of October, and I cannot assure you that that means she was definitely on a path to continue a narrative, tell a lie. I can't make a comment on that because this is what she told me, and as far as I was concerned, look,
and
it's quite obvious what you should be doing, and the fact that we're even quibbling about what you should be doing, to me, is absolutely ridiculous.
And going back to my point earlier about how the events which unfolded is consistent, completely consistent with her accounts of what happened. Even your reaction, you didn't tell her immediately that it is inconsistent with what she had agreed to. In fact, you didn't do that. You didn't check with
agreed to what?
on the 4th of October.
Okay.
Your immediate reaction when you responded to her message, what should I do, Pritam? We'll speak after sitting, keep chair and I posted. Yes, I take your point, you have a debate coming up, but you also have a very important issue that has just become worse.
I agree.
And your response, as I said earlier, was somewhat underwhelming.
Well, when you have...
Underwhelming if we believe that there was an pre-existing agreement, intention for her to tell the truth.
No.
It's underwhelming in that context, but completely consistent with an understanding that, in fact, she was to continue with the lie. And now that she's been found out, now that the police has told her, and now you know in Parliament, that they will continue with the investigations, it is then appropriate to speak about this now and discuss the next steps. Wouldn't you agree?
Mr. Tong, I do apologize. You'd have to put that question to me again. I'm so sorry. It was a long question, and I do need you to put it again.
It's a long question because I wanted to explain the context so that
Sure.
you know clearly where I'm coming from, okay?
Sure.
I was focused on your response, and I said that your response was underwhelming.
Right.
I put it to you earlier. I
Right.
think you disagreed.
Right.
But I said, I'm now also saying to you that it's underwhelming only if we believe that there was a pre-existing agreement or intention for her to come to Parliament to tell the truth. You understand me so far? Because if she was to tell the truth, such a response, in my view, would be underwhelming. But
Okay. She was...
let me finish. But if there was no such intention, and in fact her account is the correct one, that she was required or told by senior party leadership to continue the narrative, to continue the lie, then in Parliament was further told that the police will now step up and carry on with an investigation and interview her. Then in that context, I can understand why you might send a response like this.
No. Mr. Tong, I understand...
And
Sorry, go ahead.
my proposition to you is, wouldn't you agree? It's completely consistent with that. Now that you know that carrying on with the lie will probably not work because the MHA is going to get the police to interview Ms. Khan, now let's discuss. We'll speak after sitting. Keep chair and I posted. And the first words to you were, perhaps there's another way. That is to tell the truth.
I disagree.
It coheres.
No, it does not.
Together,
And I'll explain why.
Mr. Singh.
I think I've already put it in evidence, but you say my response is underwhelming. I take a very different view. I think there's a very clear choice that she has made, and this is going to lead her down definitely a very negative path. She made that choice, and there's really nothing else for me to say. You have dug your own grave already by not telling the truth. And so that is the context of we'll speak after sitting. I think it's quite clear that you have basically destroyed your own political career. At least if you tell the truth, you can recover. But you don't tell the truth. What more is there for me to say?
Okay. Prior to the sitting on the 4th of October, let's get this clear. It was in your contemplation, in fact, very clear, no doubt about it, that if the matter came up in Parliament, she would make a statement to clarify the truth, correct?
She would take responsibility and ownership, yes. And that means clarifying the truth, yes.
Come to Parliament, come clean, make a statement, tell the truth, confess to the lie, and explain, right?
That's right.
So, prior to the 4th of October, did you keep your CEC informed that this might happen?
No, I did not.
And get their approval and consensus?
Of consensus for?
Well, consensus for the fact that one of your sitting members of Parliament would be coming to confess to a grave infraction and to get clearance for what she will be saying.
I do that when she confirms she's going to make
No,
that.
Mr.
No, I did not.
Mr. Singh.
No, I did not. I
Yes
did
or
not.
no, right?
Ask
Okay.
my CEC, no.
But
I asked later.
you stepped into Parliament on the 4th of October
Yes.
with a very clear contemplation that this might come up, and if so, she will make a statement.
And she would tell the truth.
Yes.
Yes.
But you didn't tell the CEC before that.
No.
Right.
Because I don't know what she was going to say.
Let me ask you whether you even asked her for a draft of what she was going to say.
No, because you see,
Yes or no?
No, I didn't, because I didn't even know that it was going to come up. It was just my speculation that the issue may come up.
Yes, but it was a very, I mean, you might call it clairvoyant or prescient, but whatever it is, it was in your mind that it was likely
possible,
to come
certainly
up.
was possible.
Yes. And we were told that the Workers' Party has an established pre-parliamentary process of looking at speeches,
Right.
each other's speeches ahead of time.
Right.
So if you have that process,
Yes.
and if you have an expectation or at least a sense that this was going to come up on the
Yes.
4th of October,
Yes.
on a matter as serious as this, surely you would have asked to see at least an outline speech, if not the full speech of what she was going to be saying.
No. This process that we have is for speeches that you make in the course of bills that are about to be coming up for
And-
second reading.
Yes, and I would say all the more so,
Yeah.
a speech that you will make
Right.
in confession of a falsehood that you spoke in Parliament.
Um,
If you
I understand where you're going.
If you vet speeches to support bills or
Yes.
oppose bills, that's important.
Well,
But
you
what's more important is for you, as a SecGen of the party, to be aware of what your member of Parliament is going to be saying when she confesses to a very serious infraction.
She is
Right.
not only, I disagree, and I'll explain. She's not only going to confess to a serious issue, she's lied in Parliament, she's also going to confess some very deep personal details of hers which led her to commit that lie in the first place. And
And-
so, in my mind, this is something for her to take ownership and responsibility for, and she should state the truth in Parliament.
Mr. Singh, can we seriously believe that you would have been prepared to let Ms. Khan come to Parliament on an occasion where you anticipated that the issue might arise, explain that she told a lie, and clarify this without you knowing in advance what she was going to say?
She already told me what happened. She already told me what the circumstances were which led her to lie in the first place. She was laboring, she was suffering from a traumatic episode that came up, which resulted her putting that anecdote in her speech. I expected her just to say that. That's the truth.
Mr.
Just come out and tell the truth.
Mr. Singh, I think your explanation might have been okay on its own if this is just October we're talking about. But we now know what happened in the lead up to 1st November, when she did in fact come and make an explanation. In the lead up to the explanation on the 1st November, and you can confirm if I'm right or wrong, the CEC was informed ahead of time, correct?
The CEC, I called for a...
Yes or no? Just yes or no?
Yes, the CEC was informed.
Thank you. The CEC heard a draft of what she was going to explain on the 1st of November, correct?
That's right, and they were free to ask her questions about
Yes.
anything. Yes.
You had yourself given comments and edited the draft, correct?
I did not edit the draft. I gave comments to it. The draft, it was important for her to take ownership of the draft. She put it together. I believe Peng and Yudish may have helped her. But
Ms. Sylvia Lim was also involved in giving comments on the draft,
that's
correct?
right. Ms. Lim was also involved.
And you had several meetings, including at Party HQ, on the draft, correct?
I have to recall but we had several meetings. That is correct.
I can show you later, but you had several meetings.
Sure,
some
I
at
will
your
not
home,
dispute that.
Some at your home, some
Yes.
at Party HQ.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
You in addition to all of this, you also appreciated the fallout that could happen if Ms. Khan came to Parliament to confess to a lie. And apart from clearing with your CEC, looking at the draft, you also ensured that there were activists and volunteers who would pick up on Ms. Khan's social media handles, right?
I don't understand your question.
My question is a simple one. You know that the news would be big news,
Of course.
and you expected there to be some adverse fallout,
There
especially in
a lot of it
Sengkang
was
and
fallout.
particularly in Compassville, right?
Right.
And so prior to the 1st of November, you discussed with Mr. Nathan and Ms. Loh steps to be taken to answer her emails, how to explain to constituents, how to deal with social media.
No, no, I did not do that. Miss Loh, I can't remember which one of them. Either Miss
Let me
Loh
put
or
it this way.
Miss-
You were
Miss-
aware that these were being done, right?
Miss Loh and and Yudish told me that they would control her
Yes.
social media. That's
Yes.
what they told me. It wasn't a direction from me.
In fact, beginning from around the 12th of October, all the way through to just the weekend before 1st November, a period of about 2 weeks and a few days, CEC was told, CEC
was told on the 29th of October, if I
and
remember.
was aware of a draft,
Yes.
had several meetings to discuss the draft at Party HQ,
Myself,
Miss Lim.
Miss Lim, yes.
Ms. Khan, and in some cases, Mr. Nathan and Ms. Loh as well.
Yes,
correct?
but not just Party HQ. Most of them, I think, were in my house.
Yes, but at least meetings, if not more than one, at Party HQ, right?
I won't dispute this, but I'll have to check the facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
In addition, you also were aware that Ms. Khan's father had given input to the statement, right?
He messaged me, yes.
Yes. So, did any of these steps happen prior to 4th of October?
No, what steps are you referring to?
Any of these steps, CEC,
No,
looking at the draft,
no, they did
reviewing,
not. No, they
anything?
did not.
And the reason I'm suggesting to you that they did not, none of these steps took place was because it was not in your contemplation on the 4th of October that the truth would be clarified in Parliament.
No, I disagree. It was not in my contemplation that she would lie on the 4th of October.
Neither is it in your contemplation that she would lie on the 1st of November, and yet you took all these steps to clear the draft, review, edit, tell the CEC in advance.
Because
you knew what she was going to say.
Because I had confirmed from Ms. Khan that she... Sorry, go
Let
ahead.
me finish.
Go ahead.
So if we take it on your case, Mr. Singh, that she was going to come to Parliament on the 4th of November and 4th of October, I beg your pardon, and tell the truth, just as she did on the 1st of November, then all of these steps that we see in the run-up to the 1st of November would have happened in the run-up to 4th of
I
October.
see where you're going. I disagree because you have to remember I didn't know for sure whether the matter would come up in October in the sitting
you
on the 4th of
expected it.
October.
But you
it was a reasonable, it could have happened. So the state of mind
Put it
at
this
that
way,
point,
Mr. Singh,
yes, go ahead.
you expected it to a degree sufficient for you to go to Ms. Khan's home
Agree.
and talk
Agree.
to her about it.
Agree.
Thank you.
And
Please carry on.
yes, so the situation was as such on the 4th of October, it was entirely possible the matter could come up. Ms. Khan was told to take ownership and responsibility, and one would expect, very reasonably, I would say, a Workers' Party MP would just go there, tell the truth, what had happened if it had come up now. Thereafter, she indicated that there was another path, like I suggested in my evidence, honesty and so forth. And on the 12th, finally, she gets in touch and she actually doesn't want to, I call for a meeting in my house. She doesn't want to tell the truth. Sylvia gets angry, I know, because I remember quite clearly. And I tell her, look, you have to tell the truth. This is not going to go away. So don't even think that, this is going to be just left alone. And the reason why I felt it was important to look at what she was saying was, I'm not sure what she's going to say in her personal explanation on the 1st of November. So you better show me what you're going to say. Don't come up with some cockamamie lie again.
You see, by the same token,
Yes.
you had no idea what she was going to say on the 4th of October.
Yes,
Mr. Singh.
but I had no idea also that she was actually going to tell a lie in Parliament.
But I'm putting to you in this context, you must surely appreciate that this is going to be a grave revelation in Parliament, as it turned out to be, right?
Yes.
I think we all know that.
No, I agree.
And so it's natural. I mean, the steps that I've just outlined to you leading up to the 1st of November,
Right.
I mean, any political party would do that.
Right.
If you expect that a major concession admission is going to be made in Parliament, you would expect that. But we don't see any of that take
Right.
place on the 4th of October. Not one step, Mr. Singh, not one step.
Because I think it is understood what an MP has to do. An MP has to tell the truth.
Yes, it's
So
also
if
understood.
it comes up as a question and not your own personal statement, you tell the truth. There's no ambiguity about this.
Yes, it's also understood on the 1st of November that she will tell the truth, and yet you were very careful.
Well, because she was prevaricating.
Put
On
it
the
this way.
12th,
Put it
she
this
does
way.
it. Sorry, go ahead.
You might make that argument about what she will say, her statement. But let me come at this from a different angle. However she put the statement, if she contains her clarification and her admission, there will be significant media interest.
Yes,
right?
I'm sure.
And prior to 1st of November, in fact, you appreciated that and prepared a media release on the very same day. Correct?
Which media release are you referring to?
I'll show you. Can clerk please assist Mr. Singh?
Thanks, Lindley.
Yes.
Thank you.
On the 1st of November, you issued this statement. In fact, it's called the Secretary General's Statement.
Yes,
Right?
it was a Facebook post I made, and then the party put it up as
So
a
you
statement from
prepared
me.
this before the 1st of November,
No, I did not.
on the 1st of November.
Yes.
So you see, you appreciated that you had to clear with the CEC because it's a big matter. You had to prepare, or you at least had to know that steps were being done to prepare the ground in Compassville and in Sengkang for the adverse publicity. You knew that you had to issue a press statement. All of these steps has nothing to do with the words that Ms. Khan might choose in her personal statement. So the excuse that you gave earlier, the reasons you explained earlier
The reason,
as to why,
not the excuse.
the reasons that you gave earlier as to why 1st of November is different from 4th of October doesn't hold insofar as these other statements are concerned. Would you
Yes,
agree?
I see
You
where
know
you're
I'm
going
coming
with it.
from?
No, I disagree.
But you understand my question, right?
I understand your question, and I disagree with it because Ms. Khan, on the 12th of October, did not actually want to come up with a personal explanation. She just wanted to leave the issue as it was. And how do you trust a person like that? You
Miss-
you lie to me even after the speech you make on the 3rd of October. You insist it's a lady. You give me her name, her nickname at least. You tell me which police station you met her.
Okay, but
And
you see,
now,
Miss-
and
Miss-
now, hold on, let me finish.
No,
let me finish,
let
Mr.
me
Tong.
tell you where I'm coming from. Maybe you can be clearer in the evidence. You see, all of these that took place about lying to you about a bus stop
Right.
and the police station
Right.
and so on,
Right.
which took place pre-4th of October,
Right?
is now no longer relevant.
No, it's very relevant.
No,
because
it's no
I'll
longer
tell you why
relevant.
it's very relevant.
It's no longer relevant because we are now at a stage where we are gearing up towards the 1st November.
And I'll explain
explanation.
why it's very
Okay?
relevant.
So keep that in mind.
Yes, I'm keeping it absolutely in mind.
Because you see, you can't use the fact that she lied to you in August.
She
as
lied to me in
Let me
August.
finish.
Go ahead.
You can't use the fact that she lied to you in August as a reason for requiring her to put a statement in writing to you for the 1st of November. Because that same reason would also have been operative on your mind on the 4th of October. All right?
I
So
didn't
that
finish,
is
that's
not
why.
a good reason.
I
and I
haven't
think you
finished
understand where
that
I'm coming
reason.
from.
The reason, you see.
So the reasons which require you to now do something differently on the 1st of November must be reasons which took place after 4th of October. You follow?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So-
So focus on after 4th October.
Let me-
Don't talk about what happened in August and the
I'll
police
tell you
station.
why everything is relevant and you should see it as a whole. She lies to her Secretary General even after his queries in August. Secretary General tells her, take ownership, take responsibility. She takes no heed of that. She lies in Parliament again. Then she tells the Secretary General on the 4th of October, perhaps there's another way, the truth. Then she turns around on the 12th of October, not wanting to come out with the truth. What am I supposed to assume? I'll tell you what I assume. I want to make sure what you say in your statement is the truth.
Okay.
That's my explanation.
I understand what you say. We will come back to looking at breaking it down a little.
Sure.
But you remember we were on looking at the other steps that were taken, not her statement.
Let me just.
So
yeah.
why is it that before 4th October, when you expected or contemplated that such news might arise, that you didn't see the need to brief the CEC, tell them what, at least in gist what she was going to say,
Yes.
prepare your statement, prepare the ground, ensure that there were steps being taken to deal with the adverse publicity. I mean, you're a very seasoned politician. You will know that this would be the fallout.
Good.
And we wouldn't expect anything less of you to be fully prepared for that. So the fact that these steps are all missing pre-October the 4th suggests to me that it was never in your contemplation that the truth would come out.
And let me assure you, Mr. Tong, this statement, SG statement, wasn't pre-planned. It was a Facebook post I made, which then was put up on the WP website as it was. There was no planning to prepare the ground in Compassvale and so forth. CEC was just informed that an MP is going to make this statement. Ms. Khan was at liberty. Ms. Khan was at liberty to share what that statement was, what the circumstances were, and people did ask her about what had happened. But I know the point you're making.
Mr. Singh,
On the 4th of October, there was no assurance that this thing would come up. It may not have come up. You prepare for something which may not have come up before even Ms. Khan tells me, look, I'm prepared now. I've spoken to my family. I'm going to come up with the truth. Now, if she had said that, Pritam, I'm prepared now. I'm going to come up with the truth. I would say, okay, we've got to prepare and do the same things that we did, the same things that I did in the run-up to the hearing on the 1st of November, which is to call a CEC meeting and say, look, this is what's going to happen because Ms. Khan is going to make this statement. So two very different state of affairs.
No.
And I hope that clarifies matters for you and the committee.
I will take this up, but let me just pick up on a point that you made earlier. Your words, huh? And I will read it to you as it's been transcribed. Page 164, line 23. On 4th October, there was no assurance that this thing would come up. It may not have come up. You see, if it didn't come up, and it's possible, did you make any plans to voluntarily come and clarify the point?
Which point?
The lie.
At that point, no, because this was something for Ms. Raeesah Khan to do.
Yeah, but did you ask what steps were being taken to voluntarily clarify it? Because
No,
you
I
see,
did.
Mr.
No, I did not. Let me answer the
Yes.
question first.
No, you
No,
did
I
not.
did
Okay,
not.
let me finish.
Right.
You see, we have been having this discussion on the basis that it might come up on the 4th of October, and then you must tell the truth. But actually, a more serious point is being made by you here,
Yes.
which is, even if it doesn't come up, it should be clarified.
Yes.
And I don't see any suggestion pre-October the 4th that there was any agreement, any contemplation, any preparation for the Workers' Party, Ms. Khan in particular, to clarify this point.
That is correct.
On her own volition. Agree?
Agree.
And I'm suggesting to you that that is yet another step that is consistent with Ms. Khan's takeaway from the August meeting, that if this matter does not come up, if you're not pressed, keep to the August narrative. Agree?
I disagree. I disagree.
It's consistent. I know you
consistent
disagree
to me.
with Ms. Khan's interpretation.
I mean, you have my answer on record.
Yes.
It's not consistent to me because I know Ms. Khan has to reveal a very personal and deep episode affecting her to her family, and I was prepared to give her space to do that.
Yes, but you see, space, I understand.
Yes.
But you have to react and on your own volition clarify the lie, even if it doesn't come up in Parliament, right?
No, she has to do that. I'm going to make sure she does that.
Yes. How did you make sure that she's going to do that?
Well, it's a moot question because by the time the Minister for Home Affairs rises on the 4th,
No, you see, Mr.
she
Singh,
has to deal
No,
with it.
Mr. Singh.
Whatever path she chooses, the truth ought to have come out on the 4th from her mouth.
No, sorry,
It
Mr.
did
Singh,
not.
I disagree with you. Because
You can disagree, but this is
I
my
disagree
evidence.
with you because if you are right in what you've just said, that the truth has to come out, is for her to clarify. Let me go back to the 3rd of October. You went to her home because you thought that it might arise the next day.
That's right.
Actually, and you told her that if it comes up, you clarify the truth. In your words, take ownership and responsibility.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
Yes. That's what you said to her.
Yes.
But actually, a deeper point and a more important point exists, which is actually you should have gone to her home and told her, regardless of whether it comes up tomorrow, you should be in a position to clarify the untruth. Correct?
Mr. Tong,
Correct or not? Answer my question. That should have been what was what you would have done if your intention was to voluntarily and on your own volition ensure that Ms. Khan clarifies the lie.
I disagree that I would have had to put it in that way, but in my view, telling her to take ownership and responsibility, in addition to my behavior, rules of prudence, how you've seen the Workers' Party operate, you should have known what you had to do.
No, but clearly she didn't know.
Well, that's on her.
And I'm putting it to you that actually the conversation on the 3rd of October should have been a very simple one. Ms. Khan, regardless of whether it comes out tomorrow, you are now in Parliament tomorrow, shingles is over in September, you should clarify it. Stand up and clarify it.
I think I made that clear to her.
I
You can
don't-
disagree, but
I don't think
that's my evidence.
We can check the transcripts, but I don't think you gave any evidence in any of your discussion on the 3rd of October that you had told her that even if it didn't come up, you should on your own accord go and make a statement.
That's because I didn't say that. But I told her to take ownership and responsibility. And if
And-
that isn't clear, I'm not sure what is.
So the same statement that you make to her to tell her to expect it to come up tomorrow should also be read by her to mean even if it doesn't come up tomorrow, you should still do the same thing. Is that your evidence?
No, absolutely, because this is very clear. It's very clear to me, unless we have some different understanding of how MPs should behave and what the standard of politics ought to be.
Okay. So
I think
therefore,
there's no other interpretation.
your evidence earlier that, hey, I didn't know whether it will come out tomorrow or not, and therefore I don't have to take all these steps to prepare the statement, to prepare my CEC, is false, Mr. Singh.
No, it's not.
I'll tell
How
you
can
why
it be
it's false. I'll tell you why it's false. Because if we believe your last statement, that regardless of whether it comes up tomorrow or not, on the
Yes,
3rd,
yes,
she was expected to clarify it on her own accord.
that's right.
You must know, you must know by the 3rd of October that come hell or high water, it will come up on the 4th of October. There's no if and there's no buts, if we believe your evidence. Correct?
Repeat the question.
I think you know where I'm coming from.
No, please repeat
you
the
need a bit
question
more time?
nonetheless.
I'm saying to you, Mr. Singh, that your evidence earlier that you were not sure if the matter would come up in Parliament on the next day on the 4th is false. And the reason it's false is because if we believe your last statement, the very last statement you made, which is that your phrase, take ownership and responsibility, must mean either it comes up because it's been raised by someone else, or if not, on your own accord, you should clarify it. If we believe that statement, then the only answer must be that by the 3rd of October, you knew for sure that the next day, on the 4th of October, this issue will arise.
No, I didn't know.
Please, Mr. Singh, I think you know.
No, how would I know? I've already put it on evidence. It could have come up.
Yes.
I didn't know for sure it would have come up.
It could have come up only if you are resting it on whether someone else raises it. But now you are telling me
Yes.
that actually Ms. Khan, from your statements, was expected to know that even if it's not raised, she should bring it up on her own accord.
At some point she would have had to, but
No,
I
not
didn't
at
tell
some
her.
point.
I didn't tell her on the 4th of October she had to do it.
On the 3rd of October.
On the 3rd of October,
asked
it
you
was
very-
predicated on the issue coming up. If the issue came up, you have to take ownership and responsibility for it.
Mr. Singh, you are changing your evidence. and
No,
I'll-
I'm not
and I'll
changing
show
my
you
evidence.
why.
If you look at my evidence in totem,
No, please.
you would
please
realize
avoid
I'm not
this.
changing my evidence
no,
at
I
all.
was very precise. I was very precise. I was waiting for a point where you might say whether it comes up on the 3rd or not.
I'm not sure whether this is going anywhere, frankly.
No,
I
no,
think
it is-
you're putting a lot of weight on it, but if you look at the evidence that I've given, it's
I will.
very clear the matter may come up. If it comes up, take ownership, take responsibility. That's the evidence that I've given.
Okay, page 168, line 11. I said a more important point is that you should have gone to her home and told her, regardless if it comes up tomorrow, you should be in a position to clarify the truth, correct? I said, correct or not? Answer my question. And you go on to say, in my view, telling her to take ownership In addition to my behavior, I think it's your conduct, rules of prudence, you would have seen how the Workers' Party operate. You should have known what you have to do. But clearly, she didn't know. And then you said, well, that's on her. I went back to the same point and I said, and I'm putting it to you that actually the conversation on 3rd October should have been a very simple one. Ms. Khan, regardless of whether it comes out tomorrow or not, you are now in Parliament tomorrow. Shingles is over in September. You should clarify it, stand up, and explain. And your answer, I think I made that clear to her. You can disagree, but that's my evidence. So you gave evidence that regardless of whether it comes out tomorrow or not,
I know where you're going
it
with
will
this.
be raised on the 4th of October.
No.
Which means, let me finish.
Sure, go ahead.
Which means, Mr. Singh, that by the 3rd of October, you knew, if your evidence is correct, you knew that it will come up on the 4th of October. And so, the evidence you gave earlier about not knowing for sure and therefore not preparing a statement, not checking with the CEC because it may not arise, all that is not true.
No, that's not. Mr. Tong, this is completely a wrong interpretation of what I've been putting to you right from the get-go. My evidence is on the record.
Yes,
I'm not going to quibble with you on this. I think you know where I'm coming from.
The evidence
you
is
know what I
indeed on the
meant.
record.
You know what I meant when I spoke to her on the 3rd of October. She had to take ownership and responsibility,
Yes.
and she did not.
You see, on the 3rd of October, on your evidence, the one I just read to you,
Yes.
if we believe that, then in your mind, when you left her home on the 3rd of October,
Right.
you would have no doubt that through one of the methods, through either way, this issue will come up in Parliament the next day.
What methods?
The two methods or the two ways are either someone ask Ms. Khan a question,
Right.
or if not, then she will stand up on her own to
No,
make a clarification.
no, not the latter. Not the latter, Mr. Tong. It's a clever try, not the latter. I made it very clear in my
Mr.
evidence right from the beginning, which is why I said, look at my evidence in totem.
Mr.
And
Singh,
if you look at it in total, you will realize what I had said earlier. And you're trying to catch me in a gotcha moment on one question you put in there.
No.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tong. You're a good lawyer, but I'm a good listener.
Thank you. I
Okay,
don't know
but
about
let
the
me
latter, but thank you.
be very clear about it.
And Mr. Singh, I think the evidence.
I think my evidence is on there. I think we
I've
can
just been
leave.
checking it.
We can put it there.
So, I suggest to you that when you left her home on the 3rd of October, if we believe your evidence as you are telling us today on oath, then you could have had no doubt on the 3rd of October that the statement will arise.
It could have arisen.
It will arise because
No.
either she was to clarify it if it was raised, or on your account, she would have had to do it on her own
She
volition.
would have had to tell the truth.
On her
How
own
can
volition, raise it on her own volition on the 4th of October.
No, that's not my evidence. You can put that down. That's not my evidence.
Well, let me say as a matter of record that I think you are changing your evidence.
I don't think I am.
You are qualifying it.
No, I'm not.
Okay, in fact, I think you realize the bind that you are
Mr.
in.
Tong, nice try. That's all I'm saying. Nice try.
You realize the bind that you find yourself in, and
Mr.
now you
Tong,
qualify your evidence.
you can't bind me with a piece of sewing thread because that's what it is.
And going back to my original point, the reason why none of these preparatory steps were taken in the same way as in the lead up to the 1st of November was done for the 4th of October was because there was never any contemplation on your part, and indeed on Ms. Khan's, that the truth would come out in Parliament on the 4th of October. Agree?
Disagree.
And even if you had thought that this issue would only arise if she was asked, that means not on her own volition, but if she was asked, in your mind, there was a reasonable contemplation of that happening, correct?
There was a reasonable contemplation of the issue being brought up. It could have come up, yes.
And she would have to say that she lied, right, earlier?
She would have to tell the truth.
Yes. So, even in that context, assuming you're right in that evidence, you would still have had to prepare. Take some steps to prepare.
No, what would that be?
Know in advance what she's going to say.
No, I disagree.
You disagree?
First, tell the truth. What's the truth? Put it on record. We have it on record. Why did you lie? And then the party will have to determine this is the admission. What are we going to do with this?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe, Mr. Singh, that on an issue like this, a member of parliament coming to say that 2 months ago, rather, I had lied in parliament, and you contemplated it happening on the 4th of October, that you would not take steps to try and find out, at least in gist, the substance of the statement. I find it hard to believe, Mr. Singh. So please explain to me why
I don't find it hard to believe that you find it hard to believe. In my mind, if the issue had come up, it would have to be dealt with by the party. She had to tell that if she had told the truth.
No, Mr. Singh, let's not digress.
No,
Okay,
but I think I've put the evidence quite clearly there.
Let's focus on.
Please, let's focus on it.
On the occasion. Okay?
Right.
It might come up.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes up, it's big news.
Mm-hmm.
We've passed that Rubicon, right?
Yes.
So I put to you that, and I'm sharing my doubt with you so that you can help me to
Sure, go
understand.
ahead.
I find it hard to understand why, if you thought such news would come up, where an MP admits to lying, you would not tell your CEC in advance. You will not look at the draft of what she's going to say in advance. At the very minimum, these 2 steps, if not more.
Well, number one, as I've established, I didn't know whether it was going to come up for a fact. Unlike on the 1st of November, which was your initial presupposition, on the 1st of November, I know it will come up because I have sight of it. On this particular occasion, I don't know whether it will come up, so there was no other action that was taken. I hope that's clear. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself here.
If I can, may just help me understand this part. So you're suggesting to us that because on 1st November, you know for a fact that this will come up,
That's right.
and therefore you went through a process informing CEC, worked on the drafts, discussed, etc.
We didn't work on any draft
Oh,
of a press statement.
So as you described. On the 4th, there was a possibility that it might crop up, and the gravity of the explanation would be no less significant. But you were not sure, as you said. But there was a real possibility, and the significance is no less important. But no similar effort was done, and you feel that that's a reasonable series of steps not to have taken in preparation for 4th
I agree.
October.
Sorry, sir. Just one moment.
Would Mr. Chairman like to take a short break now, given that they have to reboot and, I mean, we've been on it for a few hours.
We can take a short break and rest. Perhaps
Short
now
minutes.
it's 12:20.
10 minutes?
Let's come back about 12:40.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
20 minutes. Okay, we'll come back at 12:40. Thank you. While we sort out the systems.
Sorry, am I discharged? For 20 minutes?
For 20 minutes, yes. You can go back to the room. 12:40.